Welcome to the Fantasy Audiobook. Konoha Collector, get the Whirlpool Sage Body at the beginning. Chapter 101. Also, speaking of this, third Cage paused for a moment and continued. Danzo has not shown up yet, and there are still hundreds of Jonin-level elites missing from Konoha. Where have these people gone? If it weren't for the lack of these elites, we wouldn't have been able to reverse the situation and put Konoha at a disadvantage in the early stage when the opponent was fully prepared and launched a sneak attack. Also, Tianzan didn't show up very timely with that kid. If it is really lurking in secret, it should appear an hour in advance. In this way, Konoha's losses will be minimized. To sum up, I have a bold guess that I don't want to believe. Perhaps Hanzo did not betray us. On the contrary, he did lead the main force of range shinobi to intercept the more than 300 elites brought by Azuma and Danzo. It's just that the battle situation there exceeded everyone's expectations. Hanzo was defeated by Konoha before he could hold on. After that, Tianzan led people to quickly come back with Flying Thunder God. How long do you two think this is possible? At the end of these words, even third Cage himself sounded very uncertain and disbelieving. Because, if this is all true, it would be too fantasy. After Chio and Ebizo heard this, they looked at each other with expressions on their faces. Chio couldn't help but said, "Listening to your analysis, Cage-sama, it's really not impossible. Don't forget that Tianzan kid's group fighting ability. The number of people actually doesn't mean much to him. Especially Zhang Genin, to him, they are just cannon fodder that can be easily destroyed. Rain Shinobi is no better than an adult village like our Sand Ninja. Although he has great ambitions, most of Rain Shinobi's thousands of ninja troops are just genin. Even the proportion of chunin is not very high. Moreover, many of their so-called jonin are almost as powerful as our elite chunin. Although, we warned him before to be careful of Konoha's 100, Tianzan's lightning-style ninjutsu, which also shows the heavy price we paid just now. But because the information seems too exaggerated to ordinary people, Hanzo may not believe it. In this case, he will not be sufficiently prepared. Under such circumstances, facing the lightning style of that brat Tianzan, it is not impossible for Hanzo's ninja army to be completely wiped out in a very short period of time. Saying that, Chio paused again, frowned slightly and said, "But, if these speculations of mine are true, then the only thing I can't figure out is how Hanzo lost. Why did he lose so quickly? After all, his strength is obvious to all. Absolutely the pinnacle of the ninja world. Although the name of a demigod is somewhat watery, it is definitely not something that Danzo, Tsunade, or even Tianzan can easily deal with, right? If it depends on the number of people, Hanzo has Sancho fish and poison. Ordinary numbers don't mean much to him either. On the contrary, it will only become a disadvantage for Konoha shinobi." Third Cage and Ebizo also frowned when they heard this. Ebizo thought for a moment and said, "Have you noticed? This time when reinforcements came, Danzo didn't show up. This is obviously very unreasonable. With Danzo's ambition, there is no way he would let go of this opportunity to gain fame and merit. Who doesn't know that Danzo has always coveted the position of Hokage? The reason why Konoha suffered a disastrous defeat last time due to our and Hanzo's calculations may not be because Danzo was eager for quick success and was too impulsive. But it's obviously very unreasonable for Danzo to not come to support this time and get his credit and fame for nothing. So, I guess that Danzo either died in the battle or was seriously injured and couldn't come. As for whether Danzo is staying behind to hold Hanzo back, haha, neither Ebizo, Chio nor third Cage had this idea at all. Not to mention whether Danzo is so great that he is willing to sacrifice his own interests to do such a dangerous thing. Danzo alone, even with hundreds of Konoha elites, is unlikely to be able to stop Hanzo. A mission like Hanzo's is destined to be defeated only by the siege of a very small number of shadow-level masters. Oh, if you have the strength like Senju Hashirama or Uchiha Madara, then let's talk about it. Even without the full strength of Senju Hashirama and Uchiha Madara, 1/10 of their strength is enough to take down Hanzo alone. The so-called demigods are far from enough in front of the real ninja god and ninja Shura. It is estimated that in the eyes of Uchiha Madara, Hanzo is just a clown. There was no hero at that time, so Zuzi became famous. There are no tigers in Yamanaka, and the monkey is the king. That's probably it. Third Cage heard this, nodded and said, "So, you all agree that Hanzo did not betray the alliance but was defeated?" Good. Ebizo and Chio both nodded. Chio added, "Taken together, although it is a bit unbelievable, this possibility is more likely and more reasonable. If this is really the case, then there is only one possibility. We have not underestimated the strength of Qianzan Kid. He may not only be powerful in group attacks, but also in one-on-one, his strength is not bad when facing top experts. This can be seen from the last time he used the Flying Thunder God technique to kill hundreds of our ninjas. It's just that at the time, we felt that he only achieved such results by relying solely on the speed advantage of the Flying Thunder God technique and did not really take into account his personal peak combat power. Think about it, how could a monster who could master Sage Mode and Flying Thunder God technique and create such a terrifying lightning style at the age of 8 be so simple? How can we treat it with common sense?" Ebizo also added at this time, "I also agree with my sister's judgment. I have observed in battles before that no matter whether it is Tsunade, Orochimaru or Jiraiya, they have not made any breakthrough in strength these days. Neither Orochimaru nor Jiraiya has broken through to cage level yet, at best they are just about to reach cage level. So, it's impossible that their strength exploded and they jointly defeated Hanzo." As for Danzo, the three of them tacitly agreed not to mention it. Because they know very well how much strength this old guy has. With his age and talent, it is even more impossible for him to be able to fight against Hanzo in just a few days. As for saying he hid it, this is even more impossible. If he was really hiding, Danzo would have exploded long ago when he was tricked and almost wiped out the entire army, right? If Danzo can still choose to hide his strength under such circumstances, then Ebizo really has to admire this old guy's endurance and character. After hearing this, Third Cage's face suddenly darkened. This is the only way to become a nun. Sure enough, this kid is the real threat. Ebizo, give me an additional 50 million taels of bounty for this brat. Also, write down the flattery and alienation plans before execution to deal with this brat. You must kill this kid before he fully grows up. At this time, Third Cage's fear of Qianzan reached its peak. I can't wait to get rid of it soon. He feels that Qianzan definitely has the growth potential of Senju Hashirama and Uchiha Madara. At this time, Qianzan seems to be powerful, but this is probably far from his peak. After hearing this, Ebizo was slightly startled and said, "Even if our simple guesses are wrong and Hanzo actually betrayed us, is this still the case? 100 million taels is really a big number. The daimyo of the Kingdom of Wind currently only provides them with only 300 million in funding per year. This is 1/3 of the total." Ebizo and Chio are quite in pain. Good. Third Cage nodded with absolute certainty and said, "Even if our guesses just now are all wrong, we still have to do this. We even have to ask other main lovers Kazuya-ju to follow up. If this kid doesn't die, who else will be able to deal with him in a few years? If it really comes to that, we might be finished. Again, we can't expect the kid to be the holy mother of peace like the original Senju Hashirama. Judging from these few contacts, this kid is very murderous. I don't feel like Senju Hashirama, but more like Uchiha Madara. Don't take chances. If I can use some money to deal with him before he fully grows up, I would love it. Be afraid, even so, you can't kill Qianzan in advance." But he could only do this much. For the rest, everything was in the mood. Yeah, Ebizo and Chio nodded in agreement. That was indeed the case. Hey, Konoha is blessed by heaven. Such extraordinary geniuses always appear. Who said it wasn't? Fortunately, they have Sarutobi Hiruzen and Danzo. Hehe. Qianzan and his team. After a night's rest, they set off again and headed for the border camp. As a result, halfway through the journey, Qianzan sensed the chakra of Hanzo and his men, and immediately raised his eyebrows. He informed Sakumo and his team of the matter and temporarily stopped the army. Not long after, they saw Hanzo rushing with his troops. As they got closer, Hanzo's men also obviously discovered Konoha's army, and Hanzo immediately asked his men to stop far away. He himself took 2 jonin and moved closer, looking at Qianzan and the thousands of ninja troops behind him, and then looked further away, not seeing the sand ninja, and immediately called out in confusion, "Qianzan, why are you here? Has your war with the Sand Ninja not started yet? Or, has it ended? Because, he saw that these Konoha shinobi had more or less some traces of battle on their bodies. And many of them were still injured. He was a little confused about the situation. Qianzan heard this and immediately came forward with a few people including Sakumo and Tsunade. Qianzan said, "We have indeed fought with the Sand Ninja again. We have taken some small advantages from the Sand Ninja, and temporarily drove the Sand Ninja out of the Rain Country and drove it to the country of the river. So, we can temporarily put aside the previous agreement to fight the Sand Ninja together. Let's see what the Sand Ninja will do next. Since you are here now, why don't we discuss the peace talks between us and your compensation?" Yesterday, Qianzan and his team analyzed that the Sand Ninja, who had suffered 2 losses in the Rain Country, would most likely not come to the Rain Country to fight Konoha again. Even if they want to fight Konoha, they will probably launch an attack on Kikyo Castle from the River Country. That is more suitable for the Sand Ninja. It can also weaken Qianzan's lightning-style tactics to the maximum. Only in this way can the Sand Ninja have the confidence and courage to continue fighting with Konoha. Otherwise, it is better to withdraw troops and negotiate peace. There is no way to fight. Oh, Hanzo frowned when he heard it. He didn't expect that he had miscalculated. It seems that Qianzan didn't plan to deal with the Sand Ninja according to the agreement between me and him from the beginning. But he felt it in advance and caught the Sand Ninja off guard. What method did he use? Could it be Flying Thunder God technique? So, what the Sand Ninja said last time, that Qianzan escaped from my hands with Tsunade and others, ran to reinforce the main force of Konoha and used lightning style to cause great casualties to Shahu is also true. We all underestimated this kid's super long-distance mobility. Hanzo was expressionless on the surface, but he thought very unhappy in his heart. It's a pity that he was still planning to take the opportunity of cooperating to deal with the Sand Ninja, and was ready to find a way to fight with Yi and Shahu to a draw. In this way, maybe he wouldn't have to compensate Konoha. Even if he wanted to, would it be much less? Now it seems that everything is impossible. Look at Hitaki Sakumo and others around Qianzan who are eyeing him, as well as the thousands of Konoha shinobi behind him. Hanzo sighed and thought about it. He nodded immediately and said, "That's fine. Then let's negotiate directly and agree on compensation. It's just that you all know that the country of Rain is poor, so I hope you don't go too far. Otherwise, even if we fight to the death, I won't agree. It is true that I, the Kingdom of Rain, cannot defeat you, but if I want to escape, you cannot stop me. It will be easy to hide after that, cause trouble for you Konoha from time to time, and assassinate your outgoing team. Besides, if the pressure is too much, I can completely surrender to the Sand Ninja or Rock Shinobi. In a word, you can pay the price, but it must be something Rain Shinobi thinks is reasonable and affordable. Otherwise, if the limit is exceeded, they can make another choice. Anyway, whatever is beneficial comes from it. Tisk tisk. After Qianzan heard this, he narrowed his eyes slightly, then looked at Shuomao and said, "Teacher Shuomao, it's up to you to do it. I'm not good at negotiating or anything like that. Let's try to reach a peace agreement." If Hanzo is really pushed into a hurry, he might really abandon the hundreds of Rain Shinobi in the distance and run to make peace with the Sand Ninja or Rock Shinobi. That would be even more troublesome. Not to mention Sand Ninja. As for Rock Shinobi, Onoki suffered such a huge loss from himself yesterday and would never let it go. After that, Yinrin was afraid that he would officially start a war with Yi. Also, Hanzo and Rain Shinobi may be attracted. It's also good to eliminate Hanzo from the enemy ranks in advance. Otherwise, if Qianzan is really recalled to the village by the 3rd generation and hidden in the countryside, there will really be no education on the front line for half a year. Not to mention there is Onoki who wants revenge. These were all discussed and analyzed last night. Okay, leave it to us. Sakumo smiled and nodded in agreement. Then, Naralushan, representatives of various ethnic groups, etc. were summoned, and peace talks with Hanzo began. Qianzan and Tsunade returned to the ninja troops and continued to treat some of the more seriously injured people. He mainly went to rest last night and did not go to help Tsunade treat his injuries. Of course, it would be impossible for Tsunade and others to get everything done so quickly. Because both parties were relatively sincere, the peace talks did not last long. It only took half a day to complete. Finally, the two sides reached a peace agreement and signed an alliance. Rain Shinobi promised not to help Rock Shinobi and Sand Ninja to deal with Sleepy Leaf in the subsequent war. At the same time, Konoha will be compensated 500 million taels of money and materials. Of course, given that Rain Shinobi is relatively poor, Konoha allows Rain Shinobi to pay compensation in 5 years. 100 million in 1 year, repaid in 5 years. Finally, the peace treaty and the alliance were signed, and both parties separated satisfactorily. Hanzo took his people back to Rain Shinobi to add wounds. Konoha also set off again and spent half a day rushing back to the frontline camp. Of course, after the peace talks were completed and the alliance was signed, Tsukumo sent someone to return to Konoha urgently with the peace treaty and the alliance to take to the third generation. Because this still needs the signature and seal of third generation before it can officially take effect. Of course, Tsukumo also stated it in his letter to third generation, explaining to the Anbu ninja who sent the letter the reason why he was in such a hurry to sign the peace treaty and covenant. It's just that I'm worried that something might change due to Onoki, and I have to finalize the matter as soon as possible. I believe third generation can understand. If he couldn't understand it, then there was nothing he could do. Anyway, Hitaki Tsukumo, at the suggestion of Chianzan, specially invited representatives from the army, including Ino Shikacho, Uchiha, Hyuga, Sarutobi, and Shimura, to participate in the peace talks and agreement on the alliance. Even if third generation really has an opinion, they can't express it. This wave is called coercing the public, and the law does not punish the public. When Chianzan and his party returned to the frontline camp, they finally reunited with the BOO elite from before. After both sides learned that the other side had won, they couldn't help but cheer. After the acquaintances asked each other about the fighting process on the other side and how they won. There were praises and enthusiastic cheers for Zan everywhere. Master Chianzan is so awesome. He actually wiped out 3,000 Rain Shinobi in one battle. Even if the Rain Shinobi are weaker, it's still super scary. This has never been done by anyone in the past, right? Indeed, not even Lord First Hokage has such a record. Ah, Shodai just didn't do it. That's true, but it doesn't stop me from saying that Lord Chianzan is awesome, and it doesn't stop me from worshipping Lord Chianzan. That's right, if it hadn't been for Lord Chianzan this time, we don't know how many of us would have come back alive, let alone achieved such great results. Long live Lord Chianzan. Master Chianzan is awesome. At this time, Danzo had woken up and heard that the main force was back. Danzo, who walked out of the camp's temporary hospital on crutches, heard people everywhere in the camp praising Bingshuan. They all praised him to the sky, as if it was impossible to win this battle without Chianzan. Danzo was so angry that he gritted his teeth. He held the crutch in his hand tightly with one hand and squeezed it so hard that it cracked. Chianzan, it's all your fault. You had such fighting power and you actually hid it or didn't show it at first. You deliberately waited until I was severely injured by Hanzo before you took action. You deserve to die, Danzo thought angrily in his heart. He completely ignored that Chianzan was using lightning style to kill thousands of Rain Shinobi at that time. In other words, he ignored it on purpose. And you guys, have you forgotten that I am the commander-in-chief and I also participated in the war? I even paid the biggest price to hold Hanzo back. I am the biggest contributor this time. Why don't you mention me and just talk about that brat? You all deserve to be. Danzo glanced at the Konoha Shinobi fans who were all praising Chianzan, and felt resentful in his heart. For a time, he hated everyone here. Immediately, he returned to his camp and prepared to send a letter to third generation, asking third generation to recall Chianzan as soon as possible. He felt that he could no longer let Chianzan stay on the front line, otherwise, Chianzan would steal the limelight. Moreover, Chianzan's influence on thousands of ninjas like Chianzan will only become stronger and stronger, and his prestige will become higher and higher. After these people return to Konoha, as long as they spread the word about Chianzan's deeds on the front line, Chianzan's reputation in the village will become unprecedentedly powerful. You can also get support from many ninjas. This is something neither third generation nor Danzo will allow. Lord Danzo. However, before Danzo could start writing the letter, a root ninja hurriedly walked in and reported to Danzo in detail the situation on the battlefield on Tsukumo's side. Naturally, they have not forgotten that Tsukumo and the others brought the neighboring villages to peace talks with Rain Shinobi in advance. When Danzo heard the last news, his eyes suddenly narrowed, and he was ready to use this matter to attack Tsukumo and the others. But when he heard Tsukumo's peace talks, he brought almost all the families together, including his Shimura family. There were quite legitimate reasons, and he suddenly became a little misfired. In this case, it is a collective decision of many families on the front line. If he raised objections at this time to hold Shuamao or even Qianzan accountable, it would be untenable. Not only was it no good, but it would also affect his reputation. In the end, he could only snort and give up. Okay, I know everything. You go down first. Yes. Immediately, the root ninja resigned and left. Danzo then wrote a letter and asked the root ninja to send it to third generation using the ninja eagle. Early the next morning, third generation received letters from Zan Shumo and Danzo. When it was learned that Qianzan once made great achievements in Qianzan, he destroyed 3,000 Rain Shinobi in one battle, defeated Hanzo, defeated Onoki, and then led Tsunade and others to the Sand Ninja battlefield. In the first battle, more than 800 Sand Ninjas were killed, and finally Hanzo was forced to negotiate peace, signed a covenant, and paid 500 million taels in compensation. He was stunned for a moment. After a long time, he let out a long sigh, took out the tobacco stick, stuffed the tobacco into it, lit it, and took several puffs of ba, 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 before exhaling a puff of white smoke. Then he stood up and walked to the window, looked into the distance, and said with a headache, I didn't expect that it was just a few days late and it ended up like this. Now, Qianzan's reputation as a frontline ninja has reached its peak. I don't know how many frontline ninjas admire him. These are his connections, resources and influence. It's all Danzo's fault for being such an idiot. He had to disobey my previous order. I haven't seen Qianzan for the time being. He's been transferred back. Now that's good. The tail is already too big to fall off. If I had listened to him, what would have happened? Growing up too fast. Is this kid awakening a sage body similar to first generation? Doesn't that mean that his future potential and growth height are very likely to reach the heights of first generation? Third generation frowned and thought. If this is really the case, it will be troublesome in the future. From the various signs of this boy and the secret clues of the Senju clan, third generation can sense that the Senju are preparing something. I'm afraid, I won't be willing to be lonely in the future. I still don't know what trouble will happen. Danzo. Thinking of this, third generation couldn't help but curse Yi in a low voice. At this time, a root ninja came in and reported to the third generation, Hokage-sama. Danzo-sama sent an urgent letter using the ninja eagle. After hearing this, third generation turned around and took the letter, waved his hand to the man and said, I got it. You go down first. Yes. After the man left, third generation opened Danzo's letter and read it quickly. Read it quickly. Third generation directly lit a flame in his hand, burned the letter, and then cursed angrily, Danzo. Do you know the seriousness of the matter now? Are you in a hurry now? Why did you go there earlier? You're such a fool. Don't think I don't know about your Shao Juju. You want to wash away your shame, you want to use Qianzan to earn enough merit and reputation, you want to be Hokage. In the end, you were completely unsure and lost it. Not only did you lose half your life and become disabled, but you also let Qianzan benefit from it. You really deserve to die. Why do you have the nerve to urge me to recall Qianzan now? What were you doing earlier? Why don't you die? Third generation scolded Danzo in the office for half an hour, and finally relieved some of the anger in his heart. But I still feel bad in my heart. If Danzo hadn't been in front of him at this moment, he would have really wanted to beat Danzo up and vent his anger. What do you call this? After a while, third generation calmed down, shook his head and said, thinking on the bright side, at least with the help of Qianzan, the Sand Ninja was severely injured and the Rain Shinobi was completely defeated. It has reduced a lot of losses for Konoha. It laid an excellent foundation for the subsequent opening of the war. In this way, the situation will be much better when facing the Sand Ninja and Rock Shinobi who may start a war. Thinking about it this way, third generation felt a lot better. But even if you knew it, it would be better for you to leave Qianzan in Qianzan. It can reduce a lot of losses for Konoha, but third generation still decided to recall Qianzan. If we don't recall it, it will be too late. By then, he couldn't even imagine how high Qianzan's prestige and achievements would be. By that time, even if Qianzan wanted to ask him to abdicate in favor of someone more powerful, it would only be a matter of words, right? Therefore, third generation will never allow Qianzan to continue to serve on the front line. Brush. At this time, another Anbu ninja appeared and reported. The spies in the black market returned the latest information. The 4 major ninja villages except Konoha have updated their bounties on Qianzan, and each has increased the bounty by 50 million taels. Currently, Qianzan Jonin's bounty has been increased to 400 million. In addition, more bounty hunters have joined the ranks of assassinating Qianzan. These are the masterpieces of Sand Ninja. In the past 2 days, they spared no effort to pass the new battle report to the other 3 major ninja villages and spread it throughout the ninja world. So, third generation ninja village, oh. It should be said that Cloud Shinobi and Sono Gakuin raised the bounty on Qianzan in such a timely manner. As for Onoki, he personally participated in the battle on one of the battlefields, so he naturally knew the situation there. His hatred for Zan at this time was second only to that of the Sand Ninja. In that battle, he directly lost 10 Jonin elites, and even himself was injured. In the end, he could only escape. What a shame. How could Onoki be willing to come back without revenge? At this time, Rock Shinobi had even begun to mobilize troops and officially declared war on Konoha. However, the news has not yet had time to spread back to Konoha. Oh, when third generation heard the news, they were slightly happy, but they felt something was wrong, so they immediately restrained themselves and said in a deep voice, "I understand." As a result, Qianzan becomes more and more dangerous in Qianzan. Later I will send a message to Qianzan on the front line to recall him and protect him to prevent him from being surrounded by bounty hunters in Zan. He is the super genius of my new generation in Konoha. I will never allow him to die before he grows up. You immediately go and spread the news that Qianzan has a bounty of 400 million, that there are countless bounty hunters trying to assassinate him, and that I want to recall him and protect him, spread throughout Konoha as quickly as possible, do you understand? Quote. To put it bluntly, third generation is worried that its rash recall of Qianzan will cause a lot of criticism. Therefore, following the bounty matter, under the pretext of protecting Qianzan, we built momentum in advance to block the mouths of others. As long as he takes the lead in public opinion and the high ground of justice, he will really recall Qianzan later. I believe it's hard for others to say anything clearly. As for behind the scenes, none of this matters. What he wants to control is the thoughts of the ignorant people in the village. Those ninjas, no matter what he does, these people will put their own interests first. As long as you can win over them with benefits, there will be no problem. Yes, Anbu was slightly startled when he heard this, but he still agreed without hesitation. Well, go ahead, get this done as soon as possible. Third generation waved its hand. This Anbu left immediately. When others left, Then he smiled coldly and said to himself, I believe that the spies of the 4 great ninja villages in Konoha will soon know this news. When the news is sent back to the 4 great ninja villages, will you send out experts to surround them? Where to kill Qianzan? Third generation naturally hopes so. It would be best to kill Qianzan directly. Even if it doesn't happen, or it's too late, it doesn't matter. At most it's just a casual move. There will always be a day when it works. As for whether this will make other people in the ninja village speculate that they are not compatible with Qianzan and want to harm him. This will then affect the subsequent strategies of major ninja villages towards Konoha. None of it matters to third generation. What he wants is absolute control over the village. Nothing can exist beyond his control. If there is, he will find ways to suppress and eliminate it step by step. Immediately, he wrote a letter and sent it to Qianzan with a ninja eagle, formally recalling Qianzan. In the underground black market of a city in the Kingdom of Fire, close to the Kingdom of Rain. Kakuzu has received the latest information on Qianzan's bounty. Has it actually been increased to 400 million? I want to decide on this head. Besides, Konoha is actually planning to recall Qian Yao. They also spread the news widely around the village, as if they were afraid that others wouldn't know. Tisk. It seems that there is a disagreement within Konoha. The brat named Qianzan seems to have offended the third Hokage. He is deliberately trying to leak his information so that others can deal with him. However, this is just what I want. Otherwise, he has been staying near Konoha's frontline camp. It's really hard for me to take action against him. Thinking of this, Kakuzu immediately stood up and rushed to the Qianzan camp of Konoha in the country of rain. He knew that many people would speculate on the hidden meaning, so he had to hurry up and rush there to avoid missing it or being caught first by others. As for Qianzan's record updated in the intelligence, Kakuzu automatically ignored things like killing 3,000 rain shinobi, killing 800 sand shinobi, and drawing with Hanzo and Onoki. In his opinion, these intelligences are too exaggerated. Combined with the fact that Qianzan's intelligence record is now widely known in the ninja world, Kakuzu is more willing to believe that this is the major ninja village. He's killing Wang Zan. Want him dead. Therefore, Kakuzu only believes 1/10 of this information. He estimated that Qianzan's strength was already quite heaven-defying if he could reach cage level. After all, Qianzan is only 8 years old. A mere 8-year-old cage-level brat, Kakuzu can win. 400 million bounties. How many bounty tasks do you have to take on a daily basis to get it? I'm afraid it will take several years of hard work to get it. This also depends on the situation of sufficient high bounty tasks. In short, no one can stop him from taking this 400 million small money. Otherwise, he is Kakuzu's enemy. Konoha, Uzumaki Mito's courtyard. The old man came here today and told Uzumaki Mito about the matter of recalling Qianzan, which had caused a lot of uproar in the village in the past 2 days, and then said with a cold look in his eyes. This Sarutobi Hiruzen is a good trick. They actually announced this news in advance. Occupy the high ground of public opinion. It seems like it's for Qianzan's good, but in fact it's all about Qianzan and wants Qianzan to die. He deserves to die. If the time hadn't been right now, I would have killed this idiot myself. Why did second generation choose this beast to take over the position of Hokage? He has treated Qianzan as his own grandson since he was a child. Later, after Qianzan showed his extraordinary talent and brains, he regarded Qianzan as the leader of the revival of the Senju clan and the future of the Senju clan. It's strange that he doesn't hate third generation for doing this to Qianzan. Hee. Uzumaki Mito saw her indignant look, with her beard and hair stretched out, and immediately shook his head in amusement and said, "You are still the same, you are a lot older, and most of your hair is white. But still so irritable. You don't have to worry about the monkey's calculations for the time being. I know it well, and Qianzan also knows it well. He even sent me a message today. Obviously he already knows about it. With his current strength and means, he must be ready for all responses. So, you don't have to worry about his safety. What you have to do now is to prepare your family and the Senju descendants who have integrated into the common people. When he comes back and gives the order, he will immediately recall all the clan members, re-establish the clan, and declare him as the new leader of the Senju clan. In addition, are all the tribes you have contacted secretly with me now connected? It seems that Senju is now in decline. But the deep friendships and relationships he had with many ninjas in Konoha in the past were still there. Not so easy to break. There is no problem in reconnecting the relationship now and letting them voice their support for Senju to re-establish the clan in the future. Duh. He nodded during the scene. We've all been contacted. Since I was unsure, I didn't contact you more, and I didn't mention that we wanted to re-establish a clan. Only those ninjas whose attitudes are still firm and reliable, those who are closely related to our business and interests, I will focus on contacting. Currently, there are more than a dozen ninja clans, large and small, who are willing to support us despite our declared strength. Well, that's it. All Qianzan and the others want is support. If you really ask them to give their full support, let alone their unwillingness, Qianzan is still worried. You still need to be strong in blacksmithing. As long as you are strong enough, you will have enough confidence. Coupled with the support of these ninja clans and the great achievements made by Qianzan, it was enough to block the mouths of the third generation and successfully re-establish the clan. Not to mention, both parties knew clearly what third generation was thinking about recalling Qianzan at this time. Even if the third generation was unwilling, they had to nod and admit that Senju re-established the clan and recalled the clan members. That's good. Uzumaki Mito listened and nodded with satisfaction. Your handling is very prudent. It is enough to have the support of these ninjas who have a firm stance and have interests involved. In the final analysis, this world is a world dominated by power and bound by interests and favors. First, there must be enough strength. Secondly, favors alone are not enough. Profit is the first priority. That's enough for us, leave the rest to Qianzan. Since Qianzan wants to change Senju, change Konoha, and even change the entire ninja world. That naturally requires sufficient ability. This time is a good opportunity for experience. The old man nodded during the scene, and then said worriedly, Qianzan is trying hard, do we really not want to send someone to respond? Need not. After hearing this, Uzumaki Mito shook his head in amusement and said, he has many ways to save his life. Even you and I have the means he left to save our lives, don't we? Furthermore, with the Flying Thunder God technique, he can teleport directly back to Konoha from the front lines at any time. If he really wants to leave, who can stop him? He has grown up, and it is basically impossible to assassinate him now. Unless Uchiha Madara is resurrected. Well, since last time, Uzumaki Mito naturally knew that Uchiha Madara was not dead yet. He is still hiding underground somewhere on the border of the country of fire. But this matter should not be spread. Since Qianzan didn't tell Interlude before, there's no need to let him know for the time being. Lest he worry in vain. That's true, I'm worried too much. After listening to the scene, he nodded somewhat suddenly, then shook his head with a wry smile. Hey. I'm getting old, that's it. On the other hand, Mito-sama, you are still so young and don't even know how to do it. Sometimes I'm quite envious. Of course, it is clear between the scenes that Uzumaki Mito is actually old. At this time, he does not look old on the outside, but that is just the effect of the 100 healings mark. Fortunately, because of Qianzan, Master Mito will not die in a short time. This is the best news. Senju and Qianzan are still inseparable from Master Mito. Well, the real situation of Uzumaki Mito was revealed in the interlude. He and Tiamu even practiced meditation and Shingiquan. They were all taught by Qianzan. He is not very grateful to these two elders who have taken great care of him since he was a child. Of course, if you have good things, you can't do without them. Of course, the confidentiality contract that should be signed was signed a long time ago. There is no need to worry about leaks or problems that may harm Qianzan. Giggle. There's no point in envy. 100 healings mark is not so easy to learn. However, if you learn meditation first, you may actually be able to learn it in the future. How about it? Do you want me to teach you 100 healings mark in the future? I can agree. Uzumaki Mito joked with a smile. Ah, forget it. After hearing this, the old man was slightly stunned, then shook his head helplessly and said, I'm just a bad old man, and I'm not a woman, so there is no need to do this at the door. Haha, it's up to you. Uzumaki Mito listened and smiled. At the same time, all concerned families in Konoha have also noticed the news that the third generation is hyping up its efforts to retrieve Qianzan. Immediately, there were mixed reactions. Most of them choose to sit on the sidelines. A few were sarcastic or sighed. Uchiha clan. When the clan leader Uchiha Chinshin received the news, he couldn't help but smile sarcastically. Tisk. Sarutobi Hiruzen is still so shameless. You obviously want to suppress Shuizang Qianzan, but you actually say it's for his own good. Moreover, by spreading the news so aggressively in the village, are you sure he isn't trying to control the high ground of public opinion and also want to leak Qianzan's whereabouts and assassinate him? He even used this method to deal with a child. How can Uchiha Chinshin think highly of third generation? Hehe. The third elder Uchiha Nobuhiko on the side was drinking tea and said with a faint smile, Chief, this is not the first day you have met Sarutobi Hiruzen. Isn't he just such a person? Being weak externally, hitting hard internally, and suppressing dissidents are what he is best at. The key point is that he let Danzo take the blame for him, while he looked upright, which is simply ridiculous. However, to be able to target him like this, Xiaodong named Qianzan is powerful enough. You are only 8 years old. You have made such great achievements this time, and your results are so terrifying. Sarutobi Hiruzen and the others will have a headache in the future. However, as long as the third generation is unlucky, he will be happy. He also became more and more comfortable with Qianzan, who could cause trouble for third generation. Well, it's definitely not because Qianzan saved his granddaughter Makoto, let Makoto join the team, brought her up, and protected her. Absolutely not. Oh, oh. Haha. Indeed. After hearing this, Uchiha Chinshin couldn't help but laugh loudly and said, "This is actually good news for us Uchiha. This kid is still a Senju descendant. During this period, the Senju clan is unwilling to be lonely and obviously wants to do something. It helped us attract a lot of Sarutobi Hiruzen's attention and energy. Although, I still don't know what Senju is planning to do, so it won't be easy to think about it. With Sarutobi Hiruzen targeting Qianzan like this, the Senju clan will probably not sit idly by and do nothing. After that, when Qianzan comes back, Senju might make some big move. If Senju is willing to stand up again and stand up to Sarutobi Hiruzen who can fight with open fire, that will be a great thing for us. That's when Sarutobi Hiruzen and the others will have a headache. At that time, Senju will be the first target to be suppressed by Sarutobi Hiruzen and the others, and we, the Uchiha clan, will become secondary. This way, we can feel a lot more relaxed. Even, you can profit from it. What do you think, Shinshang? Uchiha Kionzan hopes that the more families he can fight against Sarutobi Hiruzen and the others, the better. Sarutobi Hiruzen and the others have made him sick over the years. If his strength had not allowed him to do so, he would have wanted to kill them long ago. A bunch of bugs, huh? That makes sense. Uchiha Nobuhiko listened and nodded in agreement. Although Senju has declined in recent years, and even the name Senju has been basically cancelled, they are different from us Uchiha. They also have such a wide network of contacts and reputation foundation in the village. There are still many ninjas who support them. This is actually our shortcoming. To be honest, I've seen it through. If Uchiha wants to create a Hokage in the future, it won't work without enough support from the host B or even the common people. Indeed, after hearing this, Uchiha Chinshin frowned and nodded helplessly, but in recent years, Sarutobi Hiruzen and the others have taken the lead and led the ninja clan to exclude us. In addition, most of the Uchiha clan are proud of themselves, disdain to make friends, and are not good at words. As a result, we have been excluded by other ninjas and even civilians in the village. Even if we want to change this situation, there is nothing we can do. He is the slightly more level-headed patriarch of Uchiha. This is also the reason why he was able to become the leader of the Uchiha clan after Uchiha Madara left. But it's no use just having a clear mind. There is no place to use your strength, so what can you do? Moreover, he is old now, and with the hidden wounds left from past battles, he feels that his end will not be too far away. It's as good as the sky, and it only has about 10 years left to live. Therefore, over the years, he has been working hard to train his son Uchiha Fugaku. I hope he can live up to his expectations and grow up. Take over for yourself and lead the Uchiha clan forward. Unfortunately, Fugaku has not been able to satisfy him so far. This child is often too impulsive. Sometimes, he is too naive and weak. This kind of two-sided character made Uchiha Chinshin very headache and speechless for a time. Isn't this an inappropriate distinction? If you can be tough when you should be tough and be gentle when you should be soft, that would be perfect. He has always worked hard to teach and change Fugaku. At present, it is not very effective. So, he threw Fugaku to the Qianzan battlefield. I hope that the battlefield can change his awkward personality. At the same time, I also hope that Fugaku can use this to make more achievements and improve his strength, establish enough prestige among the new generation of the family. Secure his position as the young patriarch. It would be better if we could take this opportunity to make more friends with other ninjas from the same village. This will be of great help to Fugaku in leading Uchiha to integrate into Konoha in the future. It is impossible to have such an opportunity in the village alone. Sarutobi Hiruzen and the others will not sit idly by. Only in Qianzan can I make close friends with other ninjas through life and death friendships. But now that Senju is back again, it is actually a good opportunity for us Uchiha. What do you think? Uchiha Nobuhiko looked at Uchiha Senzendo with a smile. Oh, after hearing this, Uchiha Chinshin raised his eyebrows slightly. Thinking of the information he had heard recently about Uchiha Makoto, he suddenly looked at Uchiha Nobuhiko with some surprise and asked, "Are you planning to marry Makoto to Senju or the Chianzan?" PFF'd. Cough cough cough. When Uchiha Nobuhiko heard this, he spit out a mouthful of tea. If it weren't for his quick reaction, he almost wouldn't have sprayed Uchiha Chinshin directly across from him. He slapped his chest and coughed a few times, looking shocked. Looking at Uchiha Chinshin in shock and speechlessness, he asked, "Why do you think so? What is this all about?" He felt like he couldn't keep up with Uchiha Chinshin's brain circuit for a while. Why is it getting involved in something like marriage? Especially with Senju. Is this possible? Although, in recent years, due to the decline of Senju, the Uchiha clan's hostility towards Senju has disappeared a lot, but marriage. Many people in the clan, especially the old guys, would never agree. Tisk tisk. Uchiha Chinshin smacked his mouth with a look of disgust, condensed the fire attribute chakra nature transformation with one hand, and evaporated the nearby water accurately and quickly. Then, he looked at Uchiha Nobuhiko and said, "What? Do you think what I said is too exaggerated and shocking? I thought that's what you thought. I heard that Chianzan saved Makoto's life on the battlefield, and officially included her in his team and took her on missions with him. The intuition of an old man, this kid definitely has a crush on your Makoto, otherwise he wouldn't have done this. Besides, your Makoto also likes that boy. I heard that there was something wrong with the way Maidu looked at that boy." Some of this information was passed back by the ninjas from Uchiha on the front line. There are some things that his son Fugaku passed back. Speaking of which, his son Fugaku began to have a vague fondness for beauty. After all, the two families move around frequently and meet many times. Especially as Makoto gets older, this girl becomes more and more agile. However, this feeling is not at a very shallow level. At first, Fugaku was quite angry when he saw Makoto getting very close to Chianzan and Chianzan looking like a nymphomaniac. It felt like something was taken away from me. But as Chianzan showed terrifying strength in several battles and saved many Uchiha people, he was not as repulsive to Uchiha as others. Fugaku was completely impressed by Chianzan. He also became a fanatical admirer of Chianzan. I can't help it, it's human nature to be a strider. Fugaku is no exception. In addition, Fugaku, as the head of the Uchiha clan, was also fortunate to participate in the discussion on the two-front war between Rain Shinobi and Sand Ninja. Get money. Naturally, I heard Chianzan's eloquent speech. That kind of intellectual wisdom also made him admire and appreciate him very much. Because, he felt that he could not be like Chianzan. Therefore, he also completely gave up on Makoto, and the vague and over-limiting goodwill that had just sprouted was vividly strangled to death. How could I compete with my idol for a girl? Anyway, Uchiha has no shortage of beauties, and he, the young patriarch, has no shortage of pretty girls to like him. Ha! Uchiha Nobuhiko looked stunned. He is obviously not as well informed in this area as Uchiha. Especially without a son like Fugaku to snitch. So, he really doesn't know these details. I just knew from Makoto's letters that Chianzan saved Makoto, let him join the team, and taught her to become stronger. Makoto is very grateful to Chianzan and so on. From beginning to end, Makoto never mentioned to him that he fell in love with Chianzan. None of the ninjas in the frontline clan mentioned this to him. Either I don't dare to mention it, or I just don't pay attention. After all, we were going to Chianzan to fight, so how could we care about such romantic matters? Haha, sure enough you don't know. Haha, Uchiha Chinshin was immediately happy when he saw him like this. So, what you said is true. Makoto likes that boy. That boy also likes my Makoto. Uchiha Nobuhiko asked with a dark face. My little cotton-padded jacket was stolen without any sound. Pretty close. Uchiha Chinshin smiled and nodded. So, what do you think? Do you want to really try to get Makoto to marry that kid? Maybe it's a good start. Maybe we can really use this as a bridge to ease the relationship between Uchiha, Senju, and even the village. Maybe we can let Uchiha gradually integrate into Konoha. He really wasn't joking when he said this. But I really thought about it carefully and thought it was very feasible before I proposed it to Nobuhiko at this time. Quote. After hearing this, Uchiha Nobuhiko frowned, looked at Uchiha Chinshin, pondered for a while, and probably understood what the clan leader was thinking. His brows relaxed slightly, and he asked seriously, "Clan leader, are you serious? Not to mention whether Senju will agree or not, there will also be a large group of people from the family who will oppose it, right? Besides, if I remember correctly, that boy already has a girlfriend, right? The opponent is still an orphan from the Whirlpool, and he is probably the next generation of Nine-Tails Jinchuriki, who is very valued by Uzumaki Mito and even Senju. Can they agree?" He felt that this was almost impossible to achieve. Of course, if it really works out, as the clan leader said, it may be the beginning of a break between Uchiha and the village. Of great benefit to Uchiha. Why not? Uchiha Chinshin listened and said with a knowing smile. At least Shin Shang was really tempted. He immediately continued his analysis to Uchiha Nobuhiko. First, let's talk about the clan's problems. You and I both agree. I believe we can both convince the tribe behind us and gain their support, right? After hearing this, Uchiha Nobuhiko nodded affirmatively. He still had this bit of authority, that's no problem. But it's far from enough. I see. Uchiha Chinshin also nodded, and continued, but with the two of us, at least 2/5 of the clan agrees. Then, if we work hard and continue to persuade some tribesmen who are not so stubborn, it will be no problem to increase the number of people who agree to it to half, right? Uchiha Nobuhiko. Yes, then what? This is not an election. More than half of the people are enough. If we cannot get the vast majority of people to agree to this marriage, the possibility of it being ruined is extremely high. There is a flaw. When the time comes, if Sarutobi Hiruzen and the others take advantage of them, it will be easy to do bad things. I believe that at that time, people like Sarutobi Hiruzen and others who didn't like Uchiha and didn't want Uchiha to marry Senju would definitely not mind doing this. This is bound to happen. Uchiha and Senju marriage. If it really succeeds, how powerful will the two clans be in Konoha? This is not what Sarutobi Hiruzen and many wealthy families want to see. Not to mention, it would also help Uchiha break the shackles of integrating into the village. Indeed, Uchiha Chinshin listened, nodded in agreement, and continued, but if we present the facts and reason, coupled with Qianzan's recent achievements, demonstrated strength and terrifying potential, I believe that in the end we should be able to convince for all clansmen. After all, we Uchiha have always believed that the strong are respected. In my opinion, Qianzan has the potential to become an exceptional strongman like Senju Hashirama. With his strength and potential, it should be feasible to convince all the tribesmen. Besides, we don't want to settle things now. It's just that you and I agreed first and confirmed this matter. Then, we secretly exerted our strength and acquiesced in Makoto's association and closeness with Qianzan. Just wait until they grow up and then really confirm this. Speaking of this, he paused and said, currently, Qianzan is not yet 9 years old, and this time will be at least 6 or 7 years later. At the age of 8, he already has peak cage level strength. Can you imagine how powerful he will be in 6 or 7 years? By then, I estimate that his strength may be able to overwhelm the entire Konoha, let alone Uchiha. At that time, what about the marriage of Uchiha and Senju? Under the pressure of Qianzan, who dares to object? Who can object? Strength is the foundation of everything. He was betting on Qianzan's potential. Uchiha Nobuhiko listened, stroking his beard and thinking, so, what you mean is that we should first acquiesce in his relationship with Makoto. Throw their feelings in advance before he really grows up. After a few years, when he has completely grown up, everything will fall into place, right? Good. Uchiha Chinshin nodded affirmatively. Only by throwing it in advance now can we have a chance. If he has completely grown up, it will be too late. At that time, it wasn't clear whether he liked it or not. As for what you said about him having a girlfriend from the Uzumaki clan. What does it matter? Who said a man can only be married to a woman? The strong always do whatever they want. If he is really that powerful, how many people he marries is not his own business. Who dares to say anything more? Look, even those big names and ministers, although they are just ordinary people, can still marry many women with the power in their hands, right? The key is to Qianzan if you are willing, nothing else matters. And now, Makoto and him have fallen in love with each other, and that's enough. We don't need to intervene, we just need to encourage them secretly and clear some obstacles for them. Then, just let nature take its course and watch. When the time comes, beautiful flowers will naturally bloom and abundant fruits will be produced. The key, according to Uchiha Chinshin, Makoto seems to have a very good relationship with that Uzumaki Kushina, they are best friends. Wouldn't this be more perfect? Maybe if they get along, they will accept each other. Uchiha Chinshin feels that Qianzan has this strength and ability. You can do it, isn't it just a matter of hugging you from left to right? Deal with them, Uchiha and Senju's future depends on you. Yeah, that makes sense. After hearing this, Uchiha Nobuhiko felt suddenly enlightened, and immediately nodded and said, "Since you have said it for this reason, and seeing that you have really thought it through, I agree." Haha, that's right. Uchiha Chinshin was overjoyed after hearing this, and immediately enthusiastically pulled Uchiha Nobuhiko to discuss. Come on, come on. Let's sum up together and figure out what to do next. Here at the frontline camp, Qianzan immediately received the message from the spider beast placed at the Hokage building. Tisk, I really can't sit still anymore. Qianzan smacked his lips and said with a look of disdain, however, I have done everything I should do, and I will use this as an excuse to officially establish a clan when I go back. Then, work hard to improve the family's strength. Furthermore, since you are hyping up the news and trying to kill me, then I won't have any psychological burden on you if I take action against you. After a few years of settling down, the strength of the Senju family increased. At this time, it seems that the stalemate of the war has caused Konoha to sacrifice many ninjas. Moreover, they were all unnecessary sacrifices. During this period, Qianzan could secretly guide public opinion bit by bit. Then, he suddenly exerted his power at a critical moment, completely damaging third generation's reputation, ousting him from the position of Hokage and replacing him. Well, just that is not enough, the Fire Country's daimyo also needs to prepare in advance. Perhaps, I can find an opportunity to use the contract to control him and let him be used by me. Qianzan thought. Now that preparations have begun, they are all round. Qianzan will not give third generation any chance to turn around. Early the next morning, Danzo received a letter from third generation and received an order to recall Kaizan. He immediately called Qianzan, Tsukumo, Tsunade and others, and read out third generation's recall order in public. Suddenly, everyone was in an uproar. What's wrong with the old man? Before Tsunade could say anything, Jiraiya couldn't help but jumped. Don't you think this reason is too ridiculous? Because other villages have placed a bounty on Qianzan, and they are worried about Qianzan's safety, so they recalled him for protection. Who is protecting whom? Who doesn't know Qianzan's strength yet? Can anyone really assassinate him? If there is, even if he is recalled to the village, can he really be resisted? This reason is simply nonsense. No, I want to go back and question the old man. What he did is wrong. Jiraiya is not really stupid. From the unprecedented rise in Qianzan's reputation in the camp these days, as well as Danzo's dark face, and the order at this time, he has understood that this is the third generation who are afraid of Qianzan's achievements and reputation, began to suppress Qianzan. Forget it on weekdays, it's wartime now, Konoha hasn't won yet. Isn't it absolutely too much to rush to suppress dissidents? Where do they put the interests of the village? What do you think of the lives of Qianzan's companions? Any expendable chess piece? For a time, Jiraiya's dissatisfaction with third generation reached its peak. This old man is no longer the old man he knew. Too selfish. That's not what he said when he taught himself. Hee hee. Danzo listened and immediately sneered. This is the order of third generation. I just read it out. If you have any objections, do whatever you want. However, this is the front line. Without the orders of the third generation and the consent of me, the commander-in-chief, you are not allowed to leave the front line privately and return to Konoha. I hope you understand this. Let Jiraiya and others blame third generation. This time Danzo also let third generation take the blame and reap the benefits himself. Of course, strictly speaking, this incident does not entirely involve third generation taking the blame. This in itself is what third generation wants to do. It just happened that he, Danzo, wanted to do the same. After Jiraiya heard this, he immediately glared at Danzo and wanted to kill him with 1,000 knives. This shit is so bad. Okay, don't be impatient. Orochimaru on the side saw Jiraiya trying to hit someone, and quickly stopped him, pointed at Qianzan and Tsunade, and whispered, "The master is not excited, why are you excited?" Jiraiya was stunned for a moment after hearing this. He glanced at Qianzan and Tsunade and found that they were indeed very calm. It was as if this scene had been expected. Jiraiya suddenly frowned. "I have a lot of doubts in my heart, but I haven't asked them out yet." After he was ready, he asked the two of them what they thought. "Why not angry? Since it is Master Hokage's order, I can only accept it," Qianzan said with a sarcastic face and took the long tune order from Danzo. When Danzo saw it, the corner of his mouth curled up slightly, and he thought to himself, "No matter how strong you Qianzan is, what does it matter? Don't you have to obey orders?" At this time, the other Jonin present couldn't help it anymore, and they all said, "No, Master Danzo, Master Hokage, didn't you make a mistake? Master Qianzan is so powerful that he is afraid of being assassinated by a mere bounty hunter." "That's right, the war on the front line isn't over yet. No. Only the Sand Ninja is ready to make a move in the Kingdom of Sawa, and even Rock Shinobi has deployed troops into the Kingdom of Rain these days and declared war on us. Isn't it a joke to transfer Lord Qianzan back to the village for so-called protection at this time? He is gone, how will we deal with the enemy next? Is it still the same as before, where human lives are piled up? Have you ever considered that those are our companions or even our tribesmen and relatives? What do you think of the lives of us ninjas? Yes, isn't it too much to play this kind of suppression game at this time? This is war time. Haha, don't you understand yet? Third generation did it on purpose. At that time, they had all kinds of things to say, some were impulsive, and they even had no control over what they said. The resentment and hostility towards third generation and Danzo were very obvious in their words. After hearing this, Danzo's eyes suddenly narrowed and he glanced at the people who said these words, thinking about how to kill them later. Qianzan also noticed this, and also narrowed his eyes slightly, thinking, how brave. Even if you want to say it in secret. Say it here in front of Danzo. It's not for him to worry about. As the commander-in-chief, if he randomly arranges a dangerous mission, he will make you die. However, Qianzan felt that these people were pretty good and valuable, so he planned to give them a life-saving measure later. If he saved them at a critical moment, he might be able to hide them later. Play unexpected uses. It's useless for you to tell me here. This is an order from the third generation. If you have any objections, then send a message to the third generation. Again, I am just a person who reads out orders. This is not my decision. Danzo glanced at everyone present coldly, then looked at Uzumaki Kushina and said, by the way, Uzumaki Kushina, you will also go back to the village with Qianzan this time. This is also the main representative. The command, quote, after all, Kushina is a reserve member of Nine Tails Jinchuriki. Since Qianzan is no longer Qianzan, it would be too dangerous for her to stay on the front line. She might as well transfer her back and watch. As for whether it would be more dangerous for her to go back with Qianzan. Danzo understood third generation's idea just by reading the transfer order. It's just that Qianzan masters the Flying Thunder God technique and is lovers with Kushina. If Qianzan is in danger, even if something happens to him, he will never let Kushina get into trouble. He will definitely use the Flying Thunder God technique to send Kushina away as soon as possible. Anyway, judging from Qianzan's previous teleportation situations, there is no problem in getting Kushina out of danger in a critical moment. Maybe bringing Kushina, who is a dragster, can distract Qianzan and reduce the possibility of Qianzan being successfully assassinated. If that's the case, that would be great for third generation. At the worst, both Qianzan and Kushina were assassinated, which is not necessarily a bad thing. Isn't it just a Nine Tails Jinchuriki? Without the Uzumaki family, it's not really impossible to find a substitute. The Qianzan clan is also famous for its strong vitality. Wouldn't it be impossible to switch to someone from the Senju clan? Or, choose a suitable partner from their own family? In this way, Jinchuriki can be better controlled. Instead of becoming a huge deterrent and hidden danger in the hands of Uzumaki Mito like now. Kushina was stunned for a moment after hearing this, and then nodded, I know. But, where are my teammates Minato and Makoto? Are they together? Speaking, Kushina also looked at Minato and Makoto. No. After hearing this, Danzo shook his head expressionlessly and said, they will continue to stay on the front line. There is no order for them to be transferred. At the same time, Danzo thought viciously in his heart, a Senju descendant, and Uchiha, still want to go back. It's better for me to stay on the front line and find an opportunity to send them to death. Haha. In this way, the power and influence of Senju and Qianzan Kid can be further weakened. He even couldn't wait to see Qianzan's sad and ugly face after learning the news that 2 of his teammates had died in the battle. However, what he didn't know was that all of his thoughts were captured by Qianzan using his mind-reading skills. Qianzan's heart suddenly sank. Danzo, you are so good. It seems that the lesson of being blind with a broken arm is not enough. Since you are looking for death, there is no need to keep it. Just wait for death. For a moment, Qianzan was filled with murderous intentions towards Danzo and was ready to find an opportunity to kill Danzo in Qianzan. What, didn't you say he was going back to the village? Yes, but who stipulates that you can't come out secretly? Anyway, isn't this an easy thing for him who has mastered the Flying Thunder God technique? Even in this way, he can still have sufficient evidence of alibi. Secretly plot to kill Danzo so that the 3rd generation will not suspect him. Just think it's true, just an accident. I originally planned to let you make more mistakes and implicate the 3rd generation, and then we will deal with you all together. Now that I think about it, it would be great to kill you first and cut off 3rd generation's arms. As for the evidence of 3rd generation's crimes, I guess there's no shortage of evidence at the root now. Qianzan thought to himself. Even without these so-called evidence of guilt, Tianzan can gradually force the 3rd generation to abdicate with his subsequent arrangements. Danzo, who was proud over there, suddenly felt a chill running down his spine. He suddenly felt excited and had a bad feeling. He quickly glanced at everyone present. But I didn't find anything unusual, so I felt a little at ease. Okay, that's it. Let's all disperse. Qianzan, Whirlpool Kushina, you should set off as soon as possible. You must set off before today, don't waste time. Danzo was not prepared to continue chatting with these people here, so he finally made the final decision and announced the matter. After emphasizing to Qianzan and Kushina, he started to rush in. Everyone could only retreat reluctantly. In the process of leaving, Qianzan inadvertently touched the upright Jonin with his hand. Quietly, a special Flying Thunder God mark was left on each of them. This mark can be regarded as a simplified version of the Xuanzi mark. It will be triggered when they encounter fatal danger and remind Qianzan. Let Qianzan have time to teleport over and save people. Soon, Qianzan was recalled to the village, and the news of being suppressed in Shuikang spread throughout the entire frontline camp at an extremely fast speed. For a time, the crowd was excited. Almost all Qianzan ninjas are aggrieved by this, feeling that 3rd generation and the team members have gone too far. I won't find a better one even if I make excuses. Moreover, if Qianzan is transferred back at this time, where will the interests of the village be placed? Where to put those people who live and die on the front line? This is all for personal gain regardless of their life and death. For a time, Qianzan and these thousands of ninjas had a great impact on the 3rd generation and Danzo's senses. There are even some who directly hate them. The reputation of 3rd generation and Danzo in the hearts of these people has been directly undermined. Qianzan, accompanied by Shuomao and others, returned to his camp. Shuomao directly took out 2 scrolls from his arms and handed them to Qianzan. Since the recall has become settled, don't have any grudges in your heart. Here, this is what I have written down in the past few days. I have wanted to give you all the inherited knowledge of the advanced and top-level swordsmanship of the Hitaki clan for a long time, and now is the time. I hope you can learn them well and carry them forward. Shuomao was obviously worried that Qianzan would be unhappy. However, he thought too much. He had no idea that Qianzan had expected this day. It can only be said that Yinmao is not very sensitive in this regard. He is a pure ninja. An extremely sharp knife. Thank you, teacher. I will not let you down, nor will I bury your swordsmanship inheritance. When you have a child in the future, how about I teach him these sword skills and even the sword skills I created? Qianzan was moved by the result of reading the 2 scrolls, and promised Shuamao with a smile. This is a good teacher. He directly taught himself all the inheritance of the Hitaki clan. You can't be ungrateful yourself. At this time, the system prompts sounded in his mind. Congratulations to host for obtaining the rare collection, Hitaki clan high and top swordsmanship collection. Reward: 10,000 swords returning to the sect, 23 heaven-destroying swords. Doff. Seeing this reward, Yuzan took a breath of air in his heart. It's actually these 2 top swordsmanships. He's making a lot of money. This can already be regarded as the inheritance of swordsmanship at the fantasy level. If you master it completely, it shouldn't be difficult to kill a Chaoying with these 2 swordsmanships, especially the 23 heaven-destroying sword and the earth-destroying sword, right? Qianzan couldn't help but think in his heart. Oh. Shuamao didn't know what Qianzan was thinking at this time. When he heard Qianzan's promise and proposal, he raised his eyebrows, chuckled and nodded. That's pretty good. Then the matter is settled. I'll represent you. My future child has accepted it first. I believe that in the future she will become an amazing ninja under your guidance. Haha. He was very convinced of Qianzan's talent and even his teaching ability. This can be seen from Qianzan's own growth and the extraordinary growth of Kushina and Minato. The key is that in this way, his future children will not only receive Qianzan's teachings, but also the entire Kendo inheritance. Isn't this a huge profit? Well, it seems that we have to find ways to give back to Qianzan in the future. You can't take advantage of students, right? Tsukumo thought to himself. At this time, Jiraiya said to Qianzan, sorry. Qianzan, I didn't expect the old man to do this. Don't worry, I will send a message back immediately to question the old man. I believe he will take back this order soon. When the time comes, we can still fight for the village on the front line. Qianzan listened and shook his head funny. Before he could answer, Orochimaru looked at Jiraiya with a look of disdain and struck, you'd better forget it. This matter is not as simple as you think. There is no way the old man will agree just because of a few words from you. Quote. You'd better not waste your efforts. With that said, Orochimaru stopped paying attention to Jiraiya, whose face turned red and was speechless for a moment. Instead, he looked at Qianzan and licked his tongue and said, Qianzan-kun, take care of yourself along the way. I heard that your bounty on the black market has been increased to 400 million at this time. I estimate that there will be many people who want your head on this road. You'd better be careful and don't die. I'm still waiting to make a deal with you. The best thing is to use Flying Thunder God to teleport back directly. I believe you should have left a lot of Flying Thunder God marks along the way. Can you do this? He couldn't allow Qianzan to die before he got the method of immortality. Therefore, he is also very dissatisfied with third generation's approach this time. It just didn't show. Old man, you are hindering me. Orochimaru thought darkly in his heart. Haha, I did keep it, but it's not necessary. After hearing this, Qianzan smiled knowingly and said, it's not a problem to be stared at by these people all the time and left alone. It would be bad if they couldn't catch me, but they focused on the people around me and tried to catch them to threaten me. So, not only am I not going to teleport back directly this time to escape. Instead, I am going to take the initiative to enter the situation, lure these rats out of the secret, and then teach them a lesson. Kill a bunch of them. I have learned a lot of bloody lessons, and I believe it will shock many people in the future. Let them not dare to provoke me again. Haha, running away was never something he liked to do. The third generation are involved in the stability of the village and their own future plans, so they cannot be killed easily for the time being. But what kind of rotten eggs and rotten sweet potatoes are these bounty hunters who dare to tease a tiger's beard? There is simply a right way to die. After hearing this, Orochimaru's eyes flashed and he couldn't help but praise. It seems that Mr. Qianzan has already planned it and is very confident. Then I won't say anything more. I wish you all the best. Thanks. Qianzan smiled and nodded and thanked him. In that case, I'll take my leave first. With that said, Orochimaru took Jiraiya and left first. And when he was leaving, Qianzan's voice suddenly sounded in his mind, Orochimaru. In addition to the perfect human sage mode, which is the path to immortality, I also have many other good things in my hand. For example, the secret medicine that can evolve the bloodline of ninja beasts, the secret medicine that can quickly restore chakra and physical strength, the secret medicine that can quickly restore mental power, etc. There are many powerful ninjutsu. I think we can make other transactions before trading the immortality law. So, I hope you will help me collect some things that I am interested in. What do you think of the various kusanagi swords, magical weapons, rare herbs, minerals, and the corpses or living bodies of various blood successor ninjas? If you are willing, nod your head 3 times, and I will find time to contact you again and exchange communication methods with you. Orochimaru was first surprised by Qianzan's method of transmitting sounds through the air. He couldn't even sense any chakra fluctuations from it, and even the mental fluctuations were extremely slight. If the person transmitting the message hadn't been himself, he wouldn't even be able to share this. Tisk, it seems that Mr. Qianzan is more powerful than I thought. But it's more interesting, isn't it? Besides, I am indeed extremely interested in all the things he said. Orochimaru licked his tongue and thought excitedly. Not to mention other things, just the secret medicine for the evolution of the ninja beast's bloodline struck a chord in his heart. He did not doubt whether Qianzan was lying to him. Because, it's not necessary. Since there is a secret medicine for the evolution of the ninja beast bloodline. Does Mr. Qianzan also have a secret medicine for the evolution of the human bloodline in his hands? Even if not, if I use this ninja beast bloodline evolution secret medicine to conduct research, can I still find out the rules and develop a secret medicine suitable for human bloodline evolution? Thinking of this, Orochimaru couldn't help it anymore and nodded 3 times. He couldn't help but look back at Qianzan over there. Qianzan immediately gave him a meaningful look, and at the same time, Qianzan's voice sounded in his mind again, very good. It seems that Uncle Snake you are interested in this deal, then let's settle it first. I'll come find you later. After hearing this, Orochimaru opened his mouth from a distance without making a sound, and just mouthed, I'm looking forward to it. Mr. Qianzan. Then, Inokimaru pulled Jiraiya and left quickly. Orochimaru, why are you pulling me? Let go, I still have something to say to Qianzan. Forget it, you idiot, unless you can convince the old man, there is nothing to say, so don't cause trouble for Mr. Qianzan. The 2 of them just pulled away. This idiot. When Tsunade saw this scene and heard their conversation, he shook his head speechlessly. He shook his head, then looked back at Qianzan and said, I won't say more, just take care of it yourself. Be safe on the way back and take care of Kushina. As for Minato and Makoto, I will take care of them for you. Don't worry. Especially Makoto, I will transfer myself to the ninja hospital to help. Tsunade said this, obviously considering that Qianzan and Kushina left, Minato and Makoto may be targeted by Danzo. At this point, Tsunade has no doubts about Danzo's integrity. Well, thank you Tsunade-san. Qianzan listened, smiled and nodded, then looked at Minato and Makoto and said, you should listen to Sister Tsunade next. Be careful yourself, especially Makoto. Of course, if you encounter a danger that cannot be solved, don't worry. Don't hesitate, just activate the life-saving means I gave you. I'm here to save you. Aha, Minato and Makoto listened and nodded excitedly, you too. Be careful, don't be careless. Calm down. Qianzan smiled and waved his hand, then looked at Makoto and said, since Sister Tsunade is going to let you go to the camp hospital to help, I think you can try to learn medical ninjutsu. Your ninja talent is very good, and your chakra control talent is also very good. It shouldn't be difficult to get started. Although medical ninjutsu may not seem to be good at fighting, it can greatly improve the fine control of chakra, and it is actually very helpful for the practice of ninjutsu. You should think about it. Of course, the choice depends on you. Qianzan did not directly ask Makoto what to do, but only gave suggestions and analyzed the benefits. However, Makoto's heart has long been completely tied to Qianzan, and he has blind worship for him. Therefore, she nodded in agreement to Zan's words without thinking, I will work hard to learn medical ninjutsu. In this way, maybe you can use medical ninjutsu to help Qianzan in the future, right? As for treating Qianzan, Makoto feels that with Qianzan's strength, he should never be injured. In her heart, Qianzan is already invincible. Maybe her only regret at this time is that she can't go back with Qianzan. Otherwise, you can sell yourself and get along with Qianzan. Good. Qianzan smiled heartily when he saw it. He didn't say anything, but looked at Tsunade again. I may have to trouble you, Sister Tsunade. It's not a big deal. Tsunade waved his hand, looked back and forth between Qianzan and Makoto, gave Qianzan a meaningful look, nodded with a trace of teasing in his eyes. Since you said she has this. If you already have talent in this area, then I'll just teach you. An Uchiha though, but I have been in contact with her a lot in the past few days, and I think Makoto has a pretty good personality. There is nothing unusual about Uchiha's inexplicable arrogance. Quite likable. Thanks then. Qianzan smiled. Next, I chatted with Tsunade and the others for a while, packed my things, and set off directly with Kushina. Under the reluctant eyes of countless Konoha shinobi, he left the camp and walked slowly towards the direction of Yi. This scene was also seen by Danzo, who immediately ordered a ninja from the route to reveal the news and Qianzan's general route to people in the nearby black market. Haha, kid, I'd better kill you this time. Even if it doesn't work, I won't make it easy for you in the future. Let you take my credit. Humph. Danzo thought proudly in his heart. He seemed to have seen the scene where Qianzan was besieged by countless bounty hunters. A few hours later, the news that Qianzan left Konoha's frontline camp and returned to Konoha, along with a rough route, quickly spread around a black market nearby. Suddenly, countless bounty hunters gathered here during this period began to take action. Of course, there are others who are one step ahead of them. Ever since Qianzan was offered a reward of 200 million, he has been lurking and tracking within 30 kilometers of Konoha's frontline camp. They were the first to notice that Qianzan and Kushina left the Konoha frontline camp and rushed towards Konoha. Is he finally alone? It seems that the news from Konoha is true. This kid has really been recalled at this time. Haha, I want your head. Kakuzu and many bounty hunters lurking nearby thought in their minds. However, it was still too close to Konoha's frontline camp, so they were not in a hurry to take action. Instead, he quickly left the hiding place, followed Qianzan's route, and accelerated to the front of Qianzan. Prepare to find a suitable ambush location away from Konoha's frontline camp to ambush Qianzan. Chapter 106. At the same time, Sand Ninja and Rock Shinobi also received the news of Qianzan leaving the camp immediately. On the Sand Ninja side, this is a good opportunity. Let me take Elder Chio to participate in the interception. If there is a suitable opportunity, we will take action. If not, forget it. As for the camp, I will leave it to you, Ebizo, to take charge for the time being. Third Cage immediately summoned a few Jonin and senior officials to announce their decision. That's fine. Chio, Ebizo and others all nodded in agreement. This is indeed a great opportunity. It would be best to get rid of Qianzan as soon as possible. No, it's just a trip in vain, it's not a big deal. That's it, Elder Chio, let's set off immediately. Good. Rock Shinobi sighed. Onoki, who received the news, also recruited several senior executives and said directly, I think this is an opportunity not only Mubi Bounty Hunter to surround and kill this brat. I believe that the Sand Ninja and even Cloud Shinobi will not be able to help but participate. Well, Cloud Shinobi and Mist Shinobi are too far apart, so they may not be able to catch up this time. But it doesn't matter. Anyway, I plan to go alone this time, leaving the camp to you. Before I come back, hold off on taking action. We'll talk about everything after I come back. Do you understand? Last time, I brought a few Jonin and even a quasi-shadow, but I suffered a big loss. This time Onoki learned to be smarter and knew that even Jonin was of no use to that brat Qianzan, he was just cannon fodder. It's better not to bring it. Of course, those bounty hunters and even Sand Ninja Jonin and even Chunin were willing to surround and kill Qianzan, and he would be happy to see it happen. It certainly cannot pose a threat to Qianzan. But it is also good to consume some Qianzan chakra. Yes. Pan Shi and Huang Tu thought about the scene where they were chased by Qianzan last time and had no ability to fight back from. They were still fresh in their memories, so they naturally had no objections. Bringing people there, unless they are cage-level experts, is really useless. Soon, Onoki arranged things, soared directly into the sky, and rushed towards the country of destruction. After half a day, at this time, the sky had completely darkened. In the woods beside a road somewhere in the land of fire, Qianzan and Kushina were building a small fire, enjoying themselves on the hare they had just killed, and sprinkled some spices they had kept on hand. The scent made people drool. Gulu, Qianzan, are you ready? Can you start eating? Kushina looked at the roasted rabbit eagerly, swallowed her saliva and asked. Well, okay, come on, I'll give you half. Saying that, Qianzan took out a small knife, cut the hare into 2 pieces, and handed it to Zheng Shin-Tu Bandit. Hee thanks. Kushina quickly took it happily. Whoosh, whoosh. Kill. At this moment, countless hidden weapons such as shurikens, kunai and even poisonous needles were shot from all directions. They were so densely packed that almost all escape routes for Qianzan and Kushina were blocked. This is not over yet. Fire-style Great Fireball Technique. Earth-style Tulan Gun. Wind-style Slitting Technique. A large number of ninjutsu followed closely and attacked Qianzan and Kushina again from all sides. Tisk, can you finally bear it? Qianzan and Kushina met, but they were not surprised at all. Kushina still ate the roast rabbit calmly. The next moment, Qianzan put a hand on hers, swipe, and disappeared with Kushina, appearing on a big tree hundreds of meters away. No, he ran away with time and space ninjutsu. Hurry, chase him. The moment they saw Qianzan and the others disappearing, the besieging bounty hunters' expressions changed and they quickly began to search for the whereabouts of Qianzan and Kushina. Soon, the location of the 2 people several hundred meters away was determined, and they came to kill them again. Wait a moment, I'll be back as soon as I can. Qianzan warned Kushina, and then used the faint firelight to indicate her surroundings with his eyes. Well, you should be careful too. Kushina nodded knowingly. Brush. The next moment, Zan disappeared from the spot. The whole person turned into a silver flash, and in a few breaths, it flashed continuously in the nearby space within a kilometer radius. It flashed more than 200 times in a row. Ah. No, forgive me. Quote. Screams, begging for mercy, and dying struggles began to sound continuously in the forest. Every time Qianzan flashes, it means the complete end of a bounty hunter's life. And when he teleported away to kill the bounty hunters who had surrounded them before. On Kushina's side, several bounty hunters suddenly appeared from near her and launched a surprise attack on Kushina, trying to take advantage of the opportunity to capture Qianzan. Ah, when Kushina saw it, the corners of her mouth curled up slightly and she sneered. Adamantine ceiling chains. The next moment, dozens of golden chains sprang out from her body, shooting in all directions at high speed, instantly piercing through the incoming ninjutsu and leaving these people alone. Kaka. Then, Kushina used the chains to break the necks of these people. Magnet-style Satetsu Shigur. However, this is changing. Suddenly, countless sandy iron turned into thin iron needles and shot towards Kushina. Third cage. He's actually here too. Kushina's expression changed slightly, and she quickly controlled the more than 10 golden chains on the right side and kept rotating and waving them, and then blocked all these iron needles. However, after these iron needles were knocked away, they did not disappear. Instead, under the secret control of Third cage, the siege of Kushina was completed quietly. Magnet-style sand iron not attack. The next moment, these sand and iron quickly gathered around Kushina, forming a barrier of sand and iron to surround Kushina. Strange power technique impact punch. Kushina didn't wait for him to finish this step, stepped on the ground suddenly, rose into the sky, raised his fist and punched forward. Boom. Suddenly, a terrifying shock wave directly defeated the sand and iron layer in front. Kushina also successfully broke out of the barrier. Just when Third cage was still preparing to continue the attack. Abu. The next moment, Qianzan suddenly appeared not far behind him, suddenly jumped into the air, and at some point he had condensed a water-style shaped javelin in his hand, and slammed it towards the back of Third cage. Sage Art Water-style hard vortex water blade. Third cage suddenly felt a fatal sense of danger. Without any hesitation, with a thought, he gathered a large amount of sand and iron behind his back to form a shield in an attempt to resist this attack. Zitsa, Kaka. This sand-iron shield did block Qianzon's attack for a moment. But before he could smile, the next moment, the iron shield was penetrated by the terrifying spiral impact and bombarded third case cage. The third case cage only had time to avoid the fatal point. At the same time, layers of sand and iron defense were gathered in the area being attacked, and he was hit. The hard vortex water blade, which had been weakened a lot, broke through the third case cage's final reaction in 2 breaths with its still terrifying spiral impact. After receiving interference from the magnetic field, it bombarded the third case cage. The third case cage was directly knocked away. At the same time, a bloody hole the size of a palm was drilled between third case cage's waist and abdomen. Puff! As third case cage flew back in midair, his face turned pale and he couldn't help but spurt out a mouthful of blood. Then, he shouted, "Onoki! What are you waiting for?" The next moment, Qianzon felt a fatal sense of danger coming from below. Qianzon was in the air at this time and had no place to draw strength. It's a time when the old strength has been exhausted and new strength is making a living. Normally, no one can avoid the surprise attack at this time if they don't know it in advance. But there was no trace of panic on Yuzon's face at this time, but the corners of his mouth were slightly raised. Dust escape limited stripping technique. Immediately afterwards, a white cone-shaped beam of light soared into the sky from the ground below him, shooting at a terrifying speed comparable to lightning. Brush. However, at this moment, Qianzon disappeared in an instant amid the livid expressions of Onoki and third case cage. Reappeared, already back to Kushina dozens of meters away. Onoki's attack failed directly. Then, Qianzon said, "Swipe," and took Kushina and disappeared again, appearing hundreds of meters away. At this time, the third case cage was flying backwards this way. Sage Art Wind-style Rasengan Shuriken. Immediately, Qianzon's right hand began to quickly condense the wind-style chakra, and a Rasengan Shuriken was rapidly taking shape. And third case cage is no idiot. The moment Qianzon appeared in this position, he knew something was wrong. He immediately suppressed his injuries, and without hesitation used the magnet style to stop himself from flying backwards. He suddenly jumped upwards, and with an unreasonable turn and speed, he soared into the sky at an extremely fast speed, flying hundreds of meters in an instant. Wang! The next moment, a Rasengan Shuriken was thrown by Qianzon several meters below his previous position. It expanded suddenly, covering an area of tens of meters in an instant. Reduces everything in this area to dust. Tisk! What a pity. It didn't go down. It's different from what you thought. Did you do it on purpose? When Qianzon saw him, a look of pity appeared on his face. It was obvious that he had just used telepathy to read this guy's thoughts. As a result, the judgment was wrong. All he can say is that third case cage is much more powerful than he imagined. What he didn't know was that at this time, third case cage was also breaking out in cold sweat when he saw the scene of the wind-style Rasengan Shuriken attack below. He thought to himself, it was almost over. Fortunately, I noticed the feeling of death at the last moment. In order to go against my inner thoughts, I used magnetic force to send myself up to the sky instead of down. Otherwise, what happened just now would have completely ruined me. This kid actually masters such terrifying wind style and water style. I can't handle it. Walk. Making a decisive decision. The next moment, third case cage shot out like a cannonball, turned into an afterimage and rose into the sky, and continued to escape towards the west at a desperate speed. The speed was as fast as a meteor. In the blink of an eye, it was only a small dot and disappeared into the night sky. Moreover, he flew higher and higher, not daring to get closer than 200 meters to the ground. I was really scared by Qianzon's elusive Flying Thunder God technique. God knows this kid. When did the Flying Thunder God leave so many imprints on this mountain forest? Tisk. Another one who can fly. It seems that I have to develop the ability to fly as soon as possible, otherwise, I will be at a huge disadvantage. Qianzon curled his lips in displeasure when he saw it, and immediately turned his attention to Onoki. It turned out that this old guy had also run away. He glanced with Kagura's hard eyes. Onoki's retreating figure was spotted in the sky thousands of meters away. It is also flying high in the sky, very fast. Qian Zan. This old thing is even more cunning. It's like being an assassin. If you miss a single hit, you can escape thousands of miles away, right? Don't let me find a chance, or I'll kill you. Humph. Qian Zan cursed in frustration. Kushina on the side saw it, smiled and comforted, okay. Don't be angry. If you run away this time, you will run away. Look for an opportunity next time. Our strength has improved rapidly, but they are already at their peak. There will be plenty of opportunities to deal with them in the future. Of course, as you said, you really need to develop a flying ninjutsu. It's such a disadvantage if you can't fly. Qian Zan nodded. I have a lot of ideas about this, but I just didn't focus on development before. After that, I will take some time to figure it out. I will teach you when the time comes. Whether it is wind style, earth style or magnet style, flying skills can be developed. Aha, Kushina listened and nodded happily. Then it's up to you. As he spoke, he kissed Qian Zan on the cheek. Qian Zan smiled happily, and then teleported with Kushina to a tree hundreds of meters away. He looked at something below and said, aren't you ready to come out? Or do you think you still have a chance to keep me? An S-class rebel ninja from Taki Ninja Village. Quote. Yes, Kakuzu is here at this time. However, for some unknown reason, he had not taken action before. I have to say that he is well hidden, and most people may not be able to find him. Unfortunately, he met Qian Zan. In Kagura's mind, all living beings are equal. As long as you still have chakra, as long as you cannot completely hide your own chakra, then it is impossible for you to escape the perception of Kagura's mind. The key is that the range of perception of Kagura's inner eye is still very large. Currently, Qian Zan's Kagura mind-eye's perception range has been increased to a super large range of 30 kilometers in diameter. Moreover, this range is still growing further with the rapid growth of his chakra crystal, spiritual power, and mental power. Oh, after hearing this, Kakuzu no longer hid, walked out of the hiding place, looked at Qian Zan with green eyes, and said with some surprise, I'm not too surprised that you can find me. From the previous battles and preparations, I can see that you have extremely strong perception ability. Everyone underestimates this, but you actually know me, which is quite interesting. Taki Ninja Village, a name I haven't heard anyone mention in front of me for a long time. What do you know? As he spoke, Kakuzu stared at the red eye shadow on Qian Zan's face carefully, his pupils shrank slightly, and he couldn't help but murmured, sure enough, this is the same magic as first Hokage Senju Hashirama. Oh, after hearing this, Qian Zan raised his eyebrows slightly, looked at Kakuzu with interest and said, you really know first generation. I heard that it was because you took over the task of assassinating the first generation in Taki Ninja Village. The mission failed, and you thought it was a fatal mission. You think Taki Ninja Village betrayed Taki Ninja Village by deliberately sending you to die. Do not know is not true. Kakuzu's eyes narrowed slightly after hearing this. He didn't expect Qian Zan to know so clearly. He did not deny it immediately, but said in a deep voice, yes. It is indeed true. Since they asked me to die, then it's reasonable for me to betray the village, isn't it? I don't feel any regret at all about this. It was also because of this betrayal that he saw through everything. I believe that all friendships, feelings, and relationships are unreliable. Only small money will not betray you. Therefore, he embarked on the road of making small money. In his opinion, only small money can soothe his dead soul. That's true. Qian Zan nodded noncommittally. Everyone is self-interested. Betrayal or not is also mutual. I don't think there's anything wrong with what you did. Even because of this, you stole Taki Ninja Village's treasure forbidden technique. I feel that Taki Ninja Village deserves it. What? After hearing this, Kakuzu's pupils suddenly shrank. He quickly stepped back 10 meters, then stared at Qian Zan, and said solemnly, you actually know this. So, you also know that I know. Before Kakuzu could continue, Qian Zan interrupted him and said, how can you seize the heart of the 5-attribute chakra by relying on the earth's resentment? Including your own heart, you can say you have 5 lives. Tisk tisk. This treasure secret technique of resentment is really powerful. That is, can you still be considered a human being now? All I see in your body are the dark tentacles of earthly resentment parasitizing everywhere in your body. It's as if you are the local resentment yourself. This symbiotic relationship is really extreme. The situation inside Kakuzu's body was revealed under Qianzon's mental exploration. The condition inside his body made Qianzon's scalp feel numb. Kakuzu is a cruel person. If it were him, he would never be willing to turn himself into such a serious ghost. Even if you can become a lot stronger by relying on this. Even if you can save a few more lives by this. Even if you can rely on this to extend your life. Kakuzu felt as if he had been stripped naked and seen through, and he suddenly became more nervous and alert. What do you want? He already had the idea of running away at this time. It is true that the strength Qianzon showed before was too terrifying. The flying thunder god technique alone can't be done by itself. If he didn't know that it would be difficult for him to escape even if he wanted to, he would have fled by now. Space-time ninjutsu doesn't involve martial ethics. It's just a rogue ninjutsu. Second Hokage Senju Tobarama should not have created such a ninjutsu. Speaking of which, how did Senju Tobarama get killed by Cloud Shinobi when he mastered such ninjutsu? It shouldn't be at all. With such space-time ninjutsu, if he wants to escape, who can stop him? While Kakuzu was depressed, he couldn't help but think curiously. He felt that Senju Tobarama's death was too hasty. Totally unreasonable. It's like a plot kill. Hey. When Qianzon saw Kakuzu like this and heard his words, he couldn't help but complain. It seems like you came to ambush me first and wanted to collect the bounty with my head, right? Why do you act like it's not mine anymore? Is this the wrong role? PFF'd. Kushina on the side was amused by Qianzon's funny words. Kakuzu's face darkened slightly, and he frowned and said, I admit defeat this time. I can see that you don't seem to have any murderous intention towards me. So, if you have any ideas, you might as well say it directly. I will agree if I can. If you can't agree, the worst thing you can do is fight. The left and right are just dead, it's no big deal. Of course, this was said in a relaxed and easy way. If possible, Kakuzu would not want to die. He hasn't lived enough yet and wants to continue to earn more small money. Haha, okay, that's better than continuing to play with you. Qianzon listened and smiled slightly. Then, with a thought, he used his mental power to condense a contract seal and sent it to Kakuzu. He said, accept this contract, do not resist, and become my subordinate. From now on, I will do things for me. Just let you go. Kakuzu looked at the semi-illusory mysterious mark in front of him. Just by looking at it, the relevant contract information appeared in his mind. At the same time, I learned the true function of this mark. His face suddenly changed, and he looked a little ugly and said, after signing this contract, won't I completely lose my freedom, and I can only obey your orders from now on, without even a chance to resist? What's the difference between this and being a slave? Obviously, he was unwilling to sign it. This contract is much stricter than the one given to Orochimaru and the others. There should be no thought of betraying Qianzon. Any interests of Qianzon cannot be depleted. Qianzon's secrets cannot be revealed. He must obey Qianzon's orders without reservation. Isn't this just an enhanced version of the contract of betrayal? After hearing this, Qianzon fell asleep and shook his head. That's not what you said. I can't control your life or death, can I? As long as you abide by the terms of this contract, you are still free. I didn't even ask for your money. Besides, it's better to live and die than live. He felt that he had been very kind. After all, Kakuzu came to assassinate him and wanted to use his head in exchange for money. How cruel. In comparison, Qianzon, who didn't take Kakuzu's life, was really kind enough. The main reason is that Qianzon thinks Kakuzu is a good wage earner. It would be a pity to kill him directly. There will be many places for him to employ people in the future. You can completely control him in the form of a contract. Please forgive me for not agreeing, Kakuzu said solemnly, still unwilling to accept it. At this time, Qianzon raised a finger and said, I can give you a salary of 1 million taels every month. This can be added to the contract. Also, I will have the opportunity to issue you many high commission tasks in the future. For example, help me find Kagura, famous swords, gold mines, precious medicines, rare metals, ninjutsu that I don't have, corpses or living bodies of blood successor ninjas, and so on. I buy everything at a high price without any limit. As long as you work hard enough, how about ensuring that your monthly income will not be less than 30 million? In this way, plus salary per year, it will be at least 3 to 4 billion. It's equivalent to the price of my head now. But I do this every year. And, when there is no mission, I will not restrict your freedom. If you still don't want to do this, then you might as well die. I suddenly feel that the earthly resentment in your body seems to be a good collection. Having said this, Qianzan stared at Kakuzu with squinted eyes, waiting for his answer. If Kakuzu refuses again, he promises to kill him. A cage-level strong man who cannot be used by him does not deserve to live in this world. However, the next moment, Kakuzu's eyes turned into the shape of small money and couldn't help but ask, really every 1 million salary is used? Can you really make at least 400 million in 10 years? Qianzan. Kushina. Although Qianzan has long known that Kakuzu loves money as much as life. But when I really saw it, I still felt a little speechless. This guy really wants money, and everything can be discussed. Real. Qianzan immediately nodded affirmatively. Good. The next moment, Kakuzu nodded decisively and said, I agree. If you change this contract, I will accept it immediately. Hurry up. Kakuzu himself even urged him to do it, as if he was afraid that Qianzan would regret it. You guy. Qianzan was a little dumbfounded when he saw her. Before, you refused to obey, but now you are better and push for it. Immediately, he retrieved the contract imprint, modified the contents, and added the wage clause. It also comes with more detailed item collection tasks. This is permanently effective. After making these modifications, Qianzan sent the contract runes to Kakuzu again. After Kakuzu checked it and determined that there was no problem, he directly grabbed the mark and pressed it on his forehead. The next moment, he felt the mark penetrate directly into his eyebrows and enter his spiritual sea. He was suddenly shocked. This is really a spiritual contract, even involving the soul. It seems we can't take any chances. In fact, the reason why he agreed so happily just now was because he had no choice and Qianzan was too generous. Similarly, Kakuzu may not have the idea of trying to fix the bug. After all, he has a grudge, and ordinary contract seals, even if they involve the brain, are not impossible for him to break. But now that it involves the soul, the imprint is directly integrated into his soul. He knew that his idea had failed. Just work for him obediently from now on. Kakuzu thought with some disappointment and some anticipation. Hehe. At this time, Qianzan could clearly understand Kakuzu's thoughts through telepathy. However, he didn't care at all. Because, from the beginning, Kakuzu's idea of exploiting loopholes was impossible to succeed. I'm so happy that I got a top-notch worker. In this way, we will have a top treasure hunter in the future. Perfect. Qianzan thought happily. As for the money, everyone in Kakuzu belongs to him. If you give him money, isn't it just a matter of left hand and right hand? After that, he had many ways to make Kakuzu willingly take out the money. In the name of throwing. Immediately, Wang Zan said to Kakuzu, you already know the collection mission. I will update the collections I already have at any time through the contract mark, especially the repeated useless collection information such as ninjutsu. Please remember to check the updated content at any time. Now, I will issue you the first clear collection task. Go to the Sand Ninja and find a way to collect a ninja corpse with a magnet-style blood successor for me. In addition, we have to go to Mugakure to collect some corpses of the Minazuki clan who have ice-escape blood successors and the Teru Yoruichi clan who have the Dead Bone Pulse blood successors. The commission will be based on the corpse's strength before death. Genin 300,000, Chunin 500,000, Jonin 2 million, Cage level 10 million. All commissions are doubled, there is no limit to the quantity, the more the better. Any questions? He really didn't want to dig his own grave. If we wait for war, we won't be able to wait for the time being. In this Ninja World War, it seems that Mist Shinobi is not ready to take action. I don't know what happened to the village. If you want to collect the corpses of Minazuki and Teru Yoruichi on the battlefield, you have to wait until the Third Ninja War. That was many years later. Now that there are ready-made tools, Qianzan feels there is no need to wait. After hearing the first half, Kakuzu knew that Qianzan's first task was to dig his own grave, and he was suddenly reluctant. But when he heard the specific commission amount, he nodded without hesitation. No problem. Leave it to me. I promise to complete the task. However, how should I contact you after completing the task or collecting valuable collectibles? Also, when will my salary be paid this month? As long as you give enough money, everything else won't be a problem. Isn't it just digging a grave? He thought he could be good at it. You guy. Qianzan listened and shook his head in a funny way. Here is 12 million, your salary this year. As for the means of contacting me, you just need to make a contract with Xiao He. Saying that, Xuanxian took out a seal scroll from the small world and threw it to Kakuzu. Then, he summoned the ninja dog Black, took out a summoning contract scroll, opened it, and handed it to Kakuzu. Have him sign his name on it. Then, he stretched out his hand and patted Kakuzu's neck, leaving a mysterious mark directly on it, and explained, through the ninja dog, you can pass information to me at any time. Follow me. Contact with. In addition, the mark 1 left on your neck has my chakra and spiritual power. When you encounter fatal danger, it will automatically activate and summon a shadow clone of mine to help you. Also, it will automatically notify me and let me teleport directly to support you through this mark. In addition, you can also enter chakra into this mark to contact me. However, unless you can't contact me using the ninja dog, and there is something really urgent, don't use this contact method, and don't remove this mark. Do you understand? Quote. Kakuzu, who has the earth resentment, can easily peel off this piece of skin and muscle tissue without hurting himself. You have to remind him that the benefits of this mark far outweigh the disadvantages. Sure enough, Kakuzu listened, nodded, signed the summoning contract, returned the insight to Qianzan, and then said, I understand. If there is nothing else, then I will. Let's go. At this time, he couldn't wait to go to the Kingdom of Wind or the Kingdom of Water to start a gold business. Qianzan gives money so happily. He was given a year's salary directly. He felt that it was 990 perfect for such a generous boss. It seems that not only am I not unlucky today, but I am actually a blessing in disguise. Well, go ahead. Looking forward to your results. Qianzan naturally had no objection and immediately nodded in agreement. Where can I find such active workers? I'm leaving. Immediately, Kakuzu dodged a few times and left quickly. Looking at the direction he left, it was clearly the Kingdom of Wind. When Kakuzu walked away, Kushina couldn't help but ask curiously, Qianzan, what are you doing collecting the corpses of blood successor ninjas? She always felt that there was something wrong with this kind of thing. Hee. After hearing this, Qianzan smiled knowingly and said, of course it is to study the blood inheritance limit and create the blood inheritance limit potion. Here, just like this, the top-level Whirlpool Sage Body Blood Potion developed with my blood and vitality. This bottle is prepared for you, take it. In this way, you can get the top Whirlpool Sage Body Blood inheritance like me. In this way, not only the purity of your Uzumaki blood will be greatly improved, but the chakra, vitality and potential will also be greatly increased. You should be able to awaken Kagura's inner eye like me. Of course, the above is all nonsense. This is actually the system reward I got from collecting Kushina last time. Now is the perfect opportunity to give it to Kushina to enhance her strength and potential. Increase her means of self-protection. Kagura's hard eye is still very useful. Kushina was stunned after hearing this, and took the potion handed over by Yuzan in surprise. While looking at it curiously, she asked, are you telling the truth? You can already do this kind of thing. Yet, if you drink this, you can have an Uzumaki sage body of the same level as you. Isn't it too exaggerated? It's unbelievable. If this kind of thing is true, wouldn't it mean that in the future, as long as Qianzan is willing, anyone can have the top-level Whirlpool Sage Body Blood inheritance, and anyone can become a strong person? It's not an exaggeration at all, you'll know it after you drink it. Qianzan shook his head with a smile, and then explained as if he understood her thoughts. However, this thing is very precious and cannot be easily extracted and developed. It will take a lot of my life force and blood to extract a bottle of Uzumaki blood potion of this grade. Without affecting me, it took me several years to accumulate just one bottle of wine. So, unless necessary, I will not make this level of Whirlpool blood potion in the future. Unless there is a further breakthrough in technology and the required conditions are greatly reduced, I will make it again. Just make an excuse in advance. After being saved, Kushina asked. Is that so? After hearing this, Kushina suddenly nodded. This is only reasonable. By the way, Qianzan, does extracting this really have no impact on you? Why don't you drink it yourself to make up for your losses? I actually don't need it that much. Obviously, she cares more about Qianzan than getting the top Uzumaki successor. It's okay, just drink it. The effects have been eliminated over time. There won't be any problems. Don't waste my time. Besides, even if I drink it, it won't be of any use to me. Qianzan felt warm in his heart and quickly advised him. Kushina's behavior at least proves that she didn't pay wrongly. Of course, he knew this once Kushina reached the collection standard and was collected. After hearing this, Kushina was stunned again, then breathed a sigh of relief, then nodded and said, okay. I'll drink it then. Immediately, Kushina raised her head and drank the entire bottle of potion without leaving a drop. Soon, Kushina felt a warm current spreading rapidly from her stomach to her whole body. It was warm and uncomfortable. Until more than an hour later. Only then did Kushina feel the warmth recede. At the same time, she could clearly feel that her vitality and chakra had skyrocketed. She feels that she should have surpassed Minato now and at least has the strength of elite Jonin. As for the amount of chakra, it is no exaggeration to say that the average cage level may not have as much chakra as her. The Uzumaki clan is so arrogant. In addition, she also felt that she had really successfully awakened Kagura's inner eye. She directly opened Kagura's inner eye, and immediately, all the chakra fluctuations within a radius of more than 10 kilometers were absorbed by her. This feeling is so magical. It turns out, this is Qianzan's perspective when you perceive it. No wonder no one can escape your perception. With this ability in the future, I won't be afraid of being ambushed. Kushina smiled happily, then jumped directly into Qianzan's arms, kissed Qianzan, and said gratefully, Qianzan, thank you for giving me such a precious gift. I don't know how to thank you. Originally, I was a little unhappy about the matter between you and Makoto, but now, I let you go. I agree with your matter. After Qianzan heard this, he looked at Kushina in astonishment and said with some embarrassment, you know everything. We obviously didn't do anything and didn't say anything. He and Makoto are still in the tacit secret love stage. None of them pointed this out. Mainly, Wang Zan felt that there was no good opportunity. I didn't expect that Kushina would be so sensitive and she would have discovered it a long time ago. 0909. After hearing this, Kushina raised her chin proudly and said, although you didn't do anything and didn't say anything that crossed the line, I've long realized something was wrong with the way you looked at each other. I just didn't say it. Because she didn't know how to deal with it before. One is the other half of her life, and the other is her best friend. However, the two of them really didn't do anything out of the ordinary. It's very annoying. Now, she looked away. Qianzan even gave himself the potion made by extracting his own bloodline power, so what else could he not look away from? Anyway, Qianzan is so powerful, there will only be more women who fall in love with him in the future, and sooner or later he won't be able to keep it. It's better to accept Makoto as a good friend first, form a line of defense, and share the same hatred. The main reason is that her father and some elders had more than one woman. This is a little different from Konoha. The main thing is that the kingdom of Whirlpool is a country, and the Sui clan can be said to be a Hu clan. It's different from Ninja Village. Enough inheritors are important. In addition, Qianzan said that he will unify the ninja world in the future. Then Qianzan will become the emperor of the world in the future. By then, women will definitely be indispensable. In order to seek balance and peace of mind, it was almost inevitable for various forces within the empire to send women to Qianzan. After all, she used to be a princess of the kingdom of Whirlpool, and she still had a certain understanding of these things. Now that she is more proactive and generous, she will always be the most special one in Qianzan's heart. She thinks she is still very smart. Kushina, you're so kind. Qianzan understood what Kushina was thinking, and immediately hugged Kushina tightly, unwilling to let go for a long time. At this moment, he felt quite scumbag. But he just doesn't change. If you've already cheated through time travel and you can't do whatever you want, if you have all the women you like, then why bother traveling through time? After being cozy with Kushina for a while, the two let go. Qianzan ran to clean up the battlefield and used fire style to clean up all the corpses. Valuable trophies were also collected. Obtained more than 30 million in money and many ninjutsu scrolls. But he had most of them. For a small part, the rewards given by the system are also very ordinary, just giving some vitality rewards and monetary rewards. Because Qianzan no longer practices chakra, the ninjutsu rewards have changed, and the system automatically adjusts to the life calendar. Tisk tisk, I still owe a lot. They can handle more than 30s level missions. Are these bounty hunters so rich? Kushina asked with her eyes shining when she saw the small amount of money in front of her. How can it be? After hearing this, Qianzan shook his head in amusement and said, the most powerful of these bounty hunters who came to assassinate me have elite chunin strength. There are dozens of jonin among them, more than 10 elite jonin. Most of this money was provided by these jonin and elite jonin. Elite chunin doesn't have a lot of money, at most it's only a few 100,000 taels, and at least it's only tens of thousands taels. Do you still think it's too much now? After hearing this, Kushina shook her head. That's really not much. But, in the future, can we still fight against bounty hunters like the Great Tribulation and make a fortune like we did today? More than 30 million. A sudden burst of wealth. I can give that Kakuzu 3 years' salary. That's a veteran cage-level strongman. What are you thinking about? After hearing this, Qianzan felt dumbfounded and touched Kushina's head and said, this kind of good thing is probably just this once. These more than 200 bounty hunters probably must have gathered the entire Fire Nation, and even some of the bounty hunter elites from other major countries, to be able to have so many. In this wave, I almost killed all the elite bounty hunters in the country of fire. I don't know how long it will take to recover. Besides, this battle will soon spread my reputation. As long as those bounty hunters are not stupid, they will not come here to hunt me to death. So, this kind of good thing can only happen once. Of course, Qianzan would like to come more often if possible. Unfortunately, these bounty hunters are not fools. On the contrary, those hyenas who can survive and become elites are not stupid. This time, I was just blinded by the bounty of 400 million taels. At the same time, the intelligence was wrong and Qianzan was not understood, so there were so many people in the regiment rushing to die. After all, who would have thought that an 8-year-old kid could be so strong? Yes, the intelligence shows this kid's terrifying record. But most of these hyenas don't really believe it. Too exaggerated. Is that so? What a pity. After hearing this, Kushina shook her head with regret and began to help Qianzan put the money into the seal scroll. Speaking of which, I obtained the refining method of space props a long time ago, but because of the materials, I have never tried it. Next, I can do some research and refine a batch of space rings and space bracelets. Materials that contain spatial properties can be collected with money. Yeah, add this to Kakuzu too. With this in mind, Qianzan immediately updated Kakuzu's collection list in real time. He once thought that chakra metal would be enough. But in the end it turned out that the doctor failed. Doesn't work. In addition, the refining of the evolution potion of the beast's bloodline will also begin. The materials have almost been collected. In addition, we must also try to research a ninja blood evolution potion that can be mass-produced. These will all be used to improve Senju and even Konoha's strength in the future. It can also be used to quickly win over people's hearts and tie people from all ninja clans to themselves with their interests, so that they are unwilling to betray themselves and go against themselves. Qianzan thought again. Of course, the premise is that you sign a contract with yourself before the blood evolution potion can be redeemed. Moreover, Qianzan also had to think carefully about how to set the specific drug effect. You definitely can't give medicine that is too effective at the beginning, and then evolve to a level that is not qualified for blood chemical medicine. It has to be taken for a long time, and the kind that evolves slowly is the best. In this way, they will not expand easily, but will always support themselves and rely on themselves. At the same time, on the third cage side, he almost ran all the way, flying at extremely fast speeds. It took him a few hours to return to the Kawa country and the Sand Ninja camp. He passed out immediately after landing. That's Lord Third Cage. No, Cage-sama has fainted. He seems to be injured. Hurry, help. The third cage was discovered immediately by the patrolling Sand Ninja. After seeing him fainted and still covered in blood, the whole camp was in a panic. The Sand Ninja's medical ninja could only provide emergency treatment. Finally, he was barely able to rescue him. But they were all filled with questions. Why don't you see Elder Chio? Didn't she leave with Lord Cage? You ask me, who am I asking? Won't everything be known after Feng Yingtianren wakes up? Sister, where have you been? Are you okay? With such doubts and worries, he waited until the next morning when Third Cage woke up. Ebizo and a group of Sand Ninja executives arrived and asked Third Cage-sama, are you awake? What happened yesterday? Why were you so seriously injured? Do you know that you almost didn't save your life? Also, where has Elder Chiandai gone? Is it possible? Facing these questions one after another, Third Cage waved his hands feebly and said, the thing is like this. Immediately, he told everyone the entire process of this outing in detail. When mentioning Chio, he said, because I met Third Tsuchikage Onoki and heard him tell about the last time he ambushed Jonin with more than 10 meters of ninja. In that battle, 10 rock shinobi Jonin were easily killed by Qianzan. Therefore, he suggested that I not bring Elder Chio to participate in the siege. Because this will not have any effect, but there is a high probability that Chio Zanlezu will lose his life. He suggested that I cooperate with him to design an attack on Qianzan. Therefore, Elder Chio was sent back by me midway. Right now, we should still be in the country of fire, and we have to cross. It will probably take 1 day to get back. Hearing this, Ebizo was visibly relieved. As long as he was sure that his sister was okay, he felt a lot more at ease. Then, Third Cage recounted everything they experienced when they ambushed Qianzan. When everyone heard that Third Cage and Third Tsuchikage joined forces to attack Qianzan, they failed. After only a few encounters, Qianzan, G-Water Style was severely injured and escaped, and everyone immediately showed an expression of disbelief. That brat is actually so strong. I always thought that he could only rely on his lightning style and flying thunder god to deal with ninjas below cage level. There should be little advantage against cage level. I didn't expect. It seems that the news from the Kingdom of Rain in the past 2 days that he defeated Hanzo head-on is probably true, right? But because of this, these senior Sand Ninjas feel even more uncomfortable. This kid has completely grown up. Can they really deal with it in the future? Fortunately, there is internal discord in Konoha and this brat was recalled to Snow Hidden in advance. Otherwise, we wouldn't have to fight the rest of the war and we could just withdraw our troops. Ebizo couldn't help but sigh. Yes, Third Cage listened and sighed and nodded. Although this person is only 8 years old, he is no longer a simple genius but has grown into a strong man. This time, not only did I escape with severe injuries, Onoki also did the same. However, this old guy is more cunning and cautious. If he misses a hit, he will just run away. So, he was not injured. What a pity. On the contrary, all those bounty hunters died in a few breaths. Hearing this, Ebizo frowned slightly, stroking his beard and said, Master Cage, are you saying that Qianzan used the Flying Thunder God technique to shuttle back and forth in just a few breaths, killing more than 200 people? Are the bounty hunters involved in the siege, right? Yes. After hearing this, Third Cage nodded affirmatively and asked with some confusion, what's wrong? Is there any problem here? He lost a lot of blood at this time, was not in very good spirits, his mind was a lot sluggish, and he couldn't react for a while. In addition, he felt that the condition inside his body was not very good, and he seemed to be missing a waist. Other internal organs were also severely damaged. I'm afraid it will take quite a while to recover. Moreover, even if the injury is completely recovered, the combat effectiveness will be affected to a certain extent in the future. However, in that case, it would be good to be able to save a life. He felt that he was reckless this time. You shouldn't have gone to confront Qianzan without fully understanding him. Of course there is a problem. And it's a big problem. Ebizo nodded affirmatively and said solemnly, as far as we know, Qianzon's Flying Thunder God technique is basically used on the battlefield as a temporary Flying Thunder God dagger. This dagger is the coordinate of his teleportation. You can't teleport to the corresponding place without coordinates. But from what you said, Master Fengying, this time you ambushed Qianzon and he killed hundreds of bounty hunters in just a few breaths. He shouldn't have thrown the Flying Thunder God dagger temporarily, right? Otherwise, it would be impossible for him to kill all the bounty hunters in such a short period of time. And he killed so cleanly. In this case, there is only one possibility. He arranged the battlefield in advance and placed a large number of Flying Thunder God coordinates everywhere on the battlefield. When Third Cage heard this, even though he was mentally weak and his brain was slow, he also reacted. He looked condensed and said, "You mean, he knew about the ambush in advance, and even knew the approximate number of people? And, have you prepared the battlefield in advance? Did someone pass him detailed information? If this person really existed, he would definitely kill him." "I'm afraid not." However, Ebizo shook his head and said, "If nothing else, Cage-sama, you and Tsuchikage operate secretly. The only people who know the information are you two, and at most my sister Chio. It is impossible for the information to be leaked. I guess that Qianzon was able to know the information in advance and make arrangements in advance. It is only possible that he has extremely strong perception ability. And this is something we have always ignored. Thinking about it now, whether it's his Flying Thunder God technique or the Two Lightning style Forbidden technique, if you want to achieve that level, if your perception ability is not strong enough, just the super large range. It is impossible for him to control the thunder and lightning so accurately. Moreover, he so accurately targeted our people on the battlefield and attacked our people individually while avoiding Konoha's ninjas. His perception ability is at least within a radius of more than 1 kilometer. Speaking of this, Ebizo paused for a moment, then looked at Third Cage and said, "This is the real reason why you are being plotted against." I'm afraid, as soon as you got close to his sensing range, he had already understood everything and prepared a counterattack battlefield. What frightened Ebizo here was not just Qianzon's terrifying range of perception, and his strong character and coping ability. This is an all-rounder. Hearing this, both Third Cage and other senior sand ninjas present couldn't help but take a breath of air. That's true, we all ignored such important information. Is this kid's perception so terrifying? Who else can do this? I think we should not provoke him in the future. Unless we are absolutely sure to deal with him. Aren't you talking nonsense? If we want to attack the country of fire, we will face him no matter what, right? No, didn't you hear? That kid was summoned by their Hokage and hid in the snow. I'm afraid he won't come to the front line. The Hokage is really a good person. Not to mention, Hokage is just like a spy sent by us, doing thousands of things to drag Konoha back. Isn't this better? Yes, haha. As they talked, a group of senior sand ninja executives couldn't help but laugh. Obviously, they felt the happiness that Sarutobi Hiruzen brought to them. Even Third Cage and Ebizo looked at each other and felt equally amused as Chinchin. Really, Sarutobi Hiruzen is such a good person. With him around, they can feel more relaxed. Onoki's sighed. As he flew towards the Rock Shinobi forward camp, he mentally reviewed the ambush. He was keen and quickly discovered the problem. It seems that in addition to strength, that kid also has extremely strong perception ability. Miscalculation. I'm afraid, every move we make these days is within his range of perception, right? I guess this kid didn't even know how to laugh at our clown behavior in his heart. It's absolutely disgusting. With this opportunity lost, and his perception ability, there will never be such a good opportunity for an ambush in the future. What a pity, what a pity. With this idea in mind, Onoki spent half a day and traveled through the night to finally return to the Rock Shinobi frontline camp. Qianzon sighed. Soon, one night passed. This night, Qianzon and the others did not teleport back directly. This is what Kushina insists on. She said she wanted to experience the feeling of camping alone with Qianzon. What else can Qianzon say? Of course I agreed. Early the next morning, after breakfast, Qianzon and the others continued to rush towards Konoha unhurriedly. Along the way, it is no exaggeration to say that it was a sightseeing tour. If I encounter a town along the way, I will definitely go in to have a good stroll and play, and see what delicious food I can find. Therefore, in Konoha, the third generation waited for several days, but there was no news of Qianzon's return. However, I received the breaking news from Anbu that Qianzon killed more than 200 elite bounty hunters in one battle a few days ago, severely damaged the third cage, and defeated the third Tsuchikage Onoki. Deaf. Third generation couldn't help but gasp after reading the information. It seems that I still underestimated him, everyone underestimated him. Faced with so many enemies, not only was the ambush unsuccessful. Instead, we used this opportunity to arrange a counter-ambush, and eliminated so many elite bounty hunters in one fell swoop. We also severely damaged the cage and repelled Tsuchikage. How many trump cards do you hide? For a time, third generation became even more afraid of Qianzon. But at this time, even if he wanted to deal with Qianzon and kill him in advance, it was already too late. Qianzon's strength has grown. Can't move easily. Just like this time, I can only find excuses to recall him in advance, and can't do other unnecessary things. Even judging from Qianzon's current wisdom, he must be fully aware of his thoughts and attitudes. When he comes back, third generation may have to face questions and dissatisfaction from Qianzon. When the time comes, I will have to give in and give Qianzon a satisfactory explanation. Otherwise, with Qianzon's strength, potential, and the forces standing behind him, third generation is afraid that it will be unable to stand down. This is no longer something he can manipulate at will. Let's see what he wants then. We can compensate him to a certain extent. Third generation sighed inwardly, frustrated and helpless. The only person who can force him to do this is Qianzon. If Mito-sama had earlier, perhaps, he wouldn't have to be so aggrieved and embarrassed, but it's a pity. Didn't you tell me a long time ago that you can't hold on any longer? Why is it still like this after several years? Third generation feels cheated. But he went to see Uzumaki Mito a few days ago and felt very clearly that time was indeed running out. The fire of life is like a candle and may be extinguished at any time. By the way, where are Qianzon and Kushina now? According to the distance, they should be back to the village soon. Third generation shook his head, shook away the random thoughts in his mind, and then asked Anbu who came to deliver information. Doctor. After hearing this, Anbu hesitated for a moment and reported truthfully, I'm afraid it will take some time. After Qianzon and Kushina solved the ambush, they started touring the mountains and rivers, taking their time. Also, every time I encounter a town, I will definitely visit it, taste the delicious food, experience the beautiful scenery, hot springs, etc. I seem to be in no hurry to visit the village. At their rate, I estimate it will take 10 days and a half to return to the village. He estimated that Qianzon fully realized that third generation wanted to hide his idea. That's why I did it on purpose. Anyway, Qianzon won't be able to participate in the war anymore. So what's wrong with playing in advance? This is all the fault of the third generation. What the hell, it's a war now, and Qianzon is still carrying a reward of 400 million, so they are still in the mood to play. How can they be so embarrassed? Third generation's nose is so angry that it's crooked. This is simply unreasonable. He, the Hokage, has never enjoyed it so much, why should Wang Zan and the others? When Anbu heard this, he immediately complained speechlessly in his heart. In order to suppress him, you recalled him from the frontline battlefield in advance and hid him in the snow. He will no longer be able to contribute to the village. What's the shame of? Shouldn't it be you, Hokage, who should be embarrassed? Yes, Anbu is a unit directly under third generation. But Anbu is also a human being. He is also a member of Konoha. There are also friends, family and friends. Now, for their own selfish purposes, in order to suppress Qianzon, third generation deliberately recalled his super combat power in advance and hid it. Didn't they consider how many more of Qianzon's companions would die as a result? Emotions, these people deserve to die, they are not considered human beings, right? However, for the time being, he could only think about these in his mind, and he didn't even dare to show any sign of concern on his face. Otherwise, you and even your family will be in danger. But the seeds of disagreement and dissatisfaction have been planted and will one day take root. BICC. By then, it will be the time for the third generation to be in trouble. And this day will not be too far away. It seems that Qianzan is expressing his dissatisfaction to me in this way. Third generation thought. Why? After a long time, third generation sighed and waved his hand. Okay. I understand. Keep sending people to keep an eye on Qianzan. If he comes back, ask him to come to my place as soon as possible. You can go. Yes. The Anbu ninja ducked away immediately. 4 days later, in an officially declared war on Konoha. In the Kingdom of Rain, he fought with Konoha. During this period, Onoki also went to Hanzo, trying to persuade Hanzo to form an alliance with Rock Shinobi to deal with Konoha together. But Hanzo refused. Onoki suddenly felt a little embarrassed, and immediately narrowed his eyes and threatened Hanzo, "Aren't you afraid that I, Rock Shinobi, will deal with you Rain Shinobi first? Or do you think your Rain Shinobi has the strength to compete with my Rock Shinobi? I advise you not to be ungrateful. You don't really think that just because you have the title of demigod, you think you are invincible and you don't even take him seriously, Rock Shinobi, do you?" After Hanzo heard this, he immediately narrowed his eyes, and his whole body was filled with evil energy and completely exploded. The terrifying momentum made Onoki's expression slightly stagnant. Hanzo looked at Onoki and said coldly, "Tsuchikage, are you threatening me? Do you think that because I was defeated by Konoha, you think I, Rain Shinobi, am easy to bully? That's right, because of that brat from Konoha, my Rain Shinobi's strength has been greatly reduced. But that's just an ordinary ninja. I, Rain Shinobi, still have hundreds of elites, ready to fight. If you dare to threaten me again, I won't mind fighting you Rock Shinobi to the death. Besides, if you really piss me off, the worst I can do is stop Rain Shinobi Village, and just lurk here, watching and killing everyone who falls to you Rock Shinobi. Who can't stand it first when I see it? Anyway, Onoki just doesn't want to scare him. Kr. Onoki's expression suddenly froze when he heard Hanzo's almost face-breaking words and his scoundrel statement. If Hanzo really did this, he would really have a headache. Hanzo, where is your dignity as a strong man? Are you capable of killing the weak? Onoki spat in anger. After Hanzo heard this, he smiled coldly and said, "You are allowed to threaten me, but I can't threaten you anymore. Besides, my Rain Shinobi is indeed not as good as your Rock Shinobi in terms of overall strength, and I can't deny this. If the village can no longer survive, then why do I need the face of a strong man? Isn't that face already trampled to the ground by you? In short, there is no need to talk about forming an alliance to deal with Konoha. I, Rain Shinobi, lost more than 3,000 ninjas in the battle with Konoha. There are not many ninjas left. I won't participate in the fights between big countries like you. Fight as you wish, but don't try to drag me into the water Rain Shinobi. Similarly, you can fight in the country of Rain, but you are not allowed to massacre civilians, and you are not allowed to invade my rural village of Rain. Otherwise, I don't mind being an assassin and causing trouble for you, huh?" Hanzo can be considered as broken. Anyway, this is his attitude now. Seeing Hanzo's attitude of not being afraid of boiling water, Onoki's many calculations were completely in vain, and he could only say with a speechless and helpless expression, "Are you so afraid of Konoha? Or are you so afraid of that brat Qianzan?" But he has already been recalled to Konoha by Sarutobi Hiruzen. Judging from his posture, Konoha probably won't let him come to the front lines to join the battle, so what's there to be afraid of? If it weren't for this, Onoki would also need to carefully consider whether to start a war with the mask at this time. Even if there is a war, the country of Rain cannot be chosen. It's really that Qianzan's two lightning styles are so useful in a place like the Land of Rain where it's rainy all year round. Hee. After hearing this, Hanzo shook his head and said, "How do you know that brat won't show up when Konoha is at a disadvantage? He has many relatives and friends in Qianzan. Can you ensure that Qianzan won't show up if they are in danger? A strong man like him can no longer be restrained easily. If Sarutobi Hiruzen was smarter, he should find ways to win over and appease him instead of suppressing and targeting him. This is undoubtedly the stupidest thing to do. At the worst, we should kill him in advance. It is the worst way to keep such a character and only suppress him without killing him. Here, I have emphasized many times that I, Rain Shinobi, have suffered too much loss and can no longer withstand the torment. You should just play by yourself. With the current situation of Rain Shinobi, no matter who wins, they won't get much benefit, so why bother? Hey, it seems that you have really made up your mind that you don't want to join the war. When Onoki heard this, he also understood that it was useless to say anything else. He couldn't help but sigh. In this case, I won't force it. I just hope that you won't talk to Konoha secretly. Unite, otherwise, I, Rock Shinobi, will definitely not mind destroying you Rain Shinobi, ha. Let's go. After saying such harsh words, Onoki quickly left with a few people around him. Hanzo narrowed his eyes slightly when he heard these harsh words, but in the end he held back and didn't say anything more. There is no need to show off the power of words. Soon, Konoha and Rock Shinobi were constantly at war in the land of rain. Both sides come and go, causing losses to each other. Third generation. If you hadn't transferred Master Qianzan back, why would we have fought so hard? So many of our comrades died. It's so abominable. You keep saying it's for the village, but now it seems that it's just an excuse, just words. I've been deceived before. Who says it's not? Hey, can you even lower your voice and discuss this kind of thing directly? Just talk in your heart. That's right. Don't cause trouble for yourself or Qian Xuantian. HMPH. I don't care. If I can go back alive, I will definitely find a way to contact people to impeach third generation and get him to step down. Count me in. Count me in, but be careful not to leak the news. As the war progressed, the ninjas at Konoha's frontline camp became more and more resentful towards the third generation and Danzo. The entire camp was like a powder keg, as if it could be ignited at any time. Under such circumstances, even Danzo, the commander-in-chief, kept a low profile. I don't dare to make any more small moves. Even Danzo, whose strength was greatly reduced due to disability and injuries, had the idea of withdrawing from the front line and returning to Yi. He wants to find a way to restart the wood-style experiment. Then transplant yourself with Hashirama cells and Sharingan to restore your strength. It would be best if it could make his strength even further. Otherwise, even if he regains his previous strength, he still doesn't have much confidence that he can deal with Qianzan. But to complete these studies, it is not enough to rely on himself and the root ninja. They don't have this talent. Otherwise, he would not have achieved anything in recent years. For this reason, Danzo sets his sights on Orochimaru. Recently, I have been secretly talking to Orochimaru to test him out, hoping to get Orochimaru to do experiments for me. Today, he secretly found Orochimaru again and said directly, Orochimaru. You said you would consider my suggestions carefully a few times before. Have you considered it now? I need a definite answer this time, and I'm tired of waiting. Please don't perfunctory me anymore, otherwise, Hearing Danzo's threatening words, Orochimaru licked his tongue but didn't pay much attention. Because recently, his strength has finally broken through to cage level. In addition, he is still a disciple of the third generation, so Danzo's threat does not mean much to him. However, he is indeed interested in the cooperation Danzo mentioned. Because, he thought that Danzo had many good things in his hands that Qianzan would be interested in. Even if not, with Danzo's methods and the power of his roots, it would be much more efficient than him alone. The reason why he didn't agree before was just to show Danzo off. After all, things that are too easy to obtain are often not cherished. If he behaves too cooperatively, Danzo may not give him a satisfactory price. Now that Danzo is impatient and has given the most sufficient ultimatum, Orochimaru also feels that it is almost time to reap the rewards. He immediately squinted his eyes and said, Haha. Are you a threat? You should know, this is of no use to me. Danzo's face turned cold after hearing this. But before he could say anything, Orochimaru said again, but it's not possible if I agree to cooperate. It's just that since it's cooperation, you have to give me enough benefits, otherwise, I have no interest in wasting time. So, you might as well tell me what benefits you can give me. Let's be practical. If you have given enough benefits, you will naturally be what you are. If the benefits are not enough, then there is nothing to talk about. Danzo was not happy to hear this on the surface, but he was very happy in his heart. He is not afraid of Orochimaru's conditions, but he is afraid of Orochimaru's direct rejection. Since Orochimaru wants benefits, just give them to him. As long as you can achieve your own goals, it's enough. Danzo immediately asked in a deep voice, then what do you want? Let's talk about it first, don't go too far. I don't have to do it with you. Det. After hearing this, Orochimaru curled his lips disdainfully and said, stop saying such things. If you have someone who can satisfy you, you won't come to me. Of course, I am not a greedy person. I don't want much. As long as you bring the ninjutsu in the sealed book to me for study. In addition, get me some more treasure mines, precious medicines, magic weapons, famous swords, and even the corpses of blood successor ninjas, and I will agree to cooperate with you. Hearing Orochimaru's words, Danzo, even though he was well prepared, couldn't help but twitch the corners of his eyes and said angrily, you're dreaming. Do you know what you are talking about? Don't you think you are too greedy? Forbidden technique in the Book of Ceilings, I will give you at most 2 places. You choose your own and tell me. As for other things, I'll try to collect some for you. But quantities cannot be guaranteed. That's it. Are you kidding me? What if he opens a charity hall? Is there anyone as open-minded as you? Is that so? Orochimaru obviously knew that his request was too much, but naturally he had to ask for a higher price first. You can make a counteroffer. Hearing Danzo's counteroffer, he immediately pretended to hesitate for a while and said helplessly, okay. Then I want the forbidden technique, the impure world reincarnation and the spiritualization technique. As for other treasures, there should be no less than 10 types of treasures, and each type should not be less than 10 kilograms. There must be no less than 10 kinds of precious medicines, and no less than 5 strains of each. I also want at least 5 divine weapons and famous swords. This is my lowest condition. How about it? Sir Danzo, who has a big family and a big business, won't even agree to this condition, right? If so, then there's nothing to talk about. After saying that, Orochimaru ignored Danzo's thoughts and began to make mental plans to get up. If we get these things, plus some Hashirama cells and Sharingan, how many good things can we get from Xianzan? Blood evolution potion, chakra, mental power recovery potion. He wants them all. Hope that's enough. If it wasn't enough, I had to find a way to get some corpses of blood successor ninjas. Others, he couldn't collect for the time being. Danzo heard Orochimaru's conditions and saw Orochimaru's resolute look. Although he felt very sad, he still nodded and agreed with difficulty, okay. I can give you all these. When can you start the experiment? Hee. After hearing this, Orochimaru suddenly smiled and his attitude suddenly changed to a drunken one. He said, I can do it at any time, but you also know that now I am on the front line and have to fight every day. I don't have much time to do experiments. Quote. However, you can first get some experimental equipment and help me build a temporary laboratory under the camp. I will conduct some relatively simple basic research first. When the war calms down, I will have more time to conduct research in secret. What do you think? Of course, if you can withstand the pressure and not send me any combat missions, so that I can stay in the camp and do research, I have no problem with it. He himself has no interest in this endless, meaningless war. It feels like a waste of time and a limited amount of life. But there is no way. Who made him a ninja of Konoha and been trained by Konoha? Moreover, he is currently quite disappointed with third generation. But he has not forgotten the kindness third generation taught him. These still have to be repaid. Danzo frowned after hearing this. I understand. I will send the instruments in batches and help you build a temporary laboratory. As for the mission, I will try to reduce the time you spend on missions as much as possible. But it is unlikely to be possible in a short period of time. You also know that rock shinobi's attack is fierce, and your new cage level combat power is indispensable here. If you don't play for a long time, I'm afraid you will be gossiped about. If Hiruzen finds out about our cooperation, this matter will probably go awry. Danzo also felt that the war was a bit annoying at this time. It was obvious that he had always been a fanatical war fanatic. In addition, Danzo still has nothing to say. That is, Sand Ninja still doesn't know what the situation is. Up to now, they are still stationed in the kingdom of Sichuan and have no intention of retreating. He is probably waiting for the third cage to recover, and then the war against Konoha will probably start again. By then, Konoha will be at war on 2 fronts. The trouble will only get worse. By then, he and Orochimaru would have no time for research. Now, while the sand ninjas haven't started fighting yet, let's do some research. However, as a result, Danzo had to change his plan and continue to stay in the frontline camp as the war commander for the time being. He could not go back on Konoha's repairs now. Otherwise, how could he help Orochimaru save time for research? Moreover, studying wood-style fusion experiments will inevitably require a large number of experimental subjects. On the battlefield, it is more convenient to capture experimental subjects. Those hostile ninjas, even civilians, and root ninjas can easily get it. On the contrary, if he returns to Konoha, this matter will be even more difficult to handle. In charge, Danzo knows that the best wood-style fusion experiment is not the Senju family. But now the trend of the Senju clan has changed. Uzumaki Mito and the Senju clan may no longer agree to allow their clan members to participate in such dangerous experiments. Even those descendants of Senju who have integrated into the village. According to recent information from Anbu and third generation, the Senju clan has been making secret moves recently. Although it is unclear what they are planning, it is obvious that they have reached out to strengthen their attention and contact with those who have integrated into the civilian population. Then it would be even harder to attack them. Especially when Uzumaki Mito is still there and the kid Qianzan suddenly rises again. I didn't take care of the other person's meal, so it was better to keep a low profile first. HMPH. When I successfully fuse and master the power of wood style and Sharingan, that's when I will deal with you little brat and the Senju clan. In the face of absolute strength, any conspiracy and trickery are in vain. Danzo snorted in his heart. Orochimaru listened and nodded in agreement. He doesn't want his teacher to know about his cooperation with Danzo yet. After all, his teacher never wanted them to get too close to Danzo. He said he was afraid that they would go astray and be led astray by Danzo. But what the real situation is a matter for benevolence and wisdom. Anyway, Orochimaru himself didn't fully believe it. I'm afraid, the teacher is more worried that in the process of contacting Danzo, I will learn about his dark side and the dirty things he asked Danzo to do, right? Orochimaru thought with a sneer in his mind. His teacher was still a little naive. A very contradictory person. He always likes to do things that deceive himself and others. That's good. This matter is settled. I will get the instruments and experimental materials as soon as possible. Danzo nodded with satisfaction and said impatiently. Don't forget my conditions and fulfill them as soon as possible, otherwise, I cannot guarantee results. Orochimaru reminded, kindly. It's impossible to prostitute him for free without giving him any benefits. Danzo's face turned dark when he heard this, and he said coldly, I know. You don't have to keep reminding me. You can go. Haha, okay. Orochimaru didn't mind Tuan's unreasonable behavior at all, and left immediately with a smile. Qianzan this way. He took Ju Shinzong to visit the Land of Fire for nearly a month before he returned to Konoha without any delay and stepped into the long-lost gate of Konoha. Brush. As soon as he and Kushina entered the village, an Anbu appeared in front of them and said, Qianzan, the Kushina Shadow Man invites you. Oh. After hearing this, Qianzan raised his eyebrows slightly and nodded, I understand. Lead the way. It's also time to meet the third generation. Some things need to be said carefully. Immediately, Qianzan and Kushina followed this Anbu to the Hokage building, walked into the Hokage office, and met third generation. Third generation was smoking a dry cigarette at this time, and saw Qianzan and Kushina coming in. He said in a complicated and stupid way, you are back. It's good. Sit down first. Let's have a good chat. With that said, he asked Qianzan and Kushina to sit down on the sofa nearby, and then waved to Anbu who was leading the way, indicating that he should leave first. After Anbu closed the door and left, third generation sat across from Qianzan and the others, considered it for a moment, and asked, have you had a good time along the way? I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.